All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the World Arena Podcast,
WAP.
aka the WAPcast Chronicles as well. Firas and I are joined by the Kebab King, fellow Beardian, tilter of Foggy Raids. I am your host, Zigbear.
What's up, guys?
We spent too much time practicing that, but yeah, this is Zigbear. Don't question it. Don't question my hat either. Don't question anything. Today's episode is we're gonna talk about Summoner's War a bit, the depressing state that it's in, and at the recording of this podcast, there has been no notes as of November 25th, 1:30 p.m. MST. There is no patch. Does that mean we're not getting a patch? No. It has been delayed before. It will be coming. There's no way they're going to break their 2-month promise streak thing. They've actually been pretty decent with it. They're allowed like a few days leeway, so relax a bit. And we'll talk about Chronicles, naturally. That's the hot topic in the last couple of weeks. Last week we didn't have an episode. We were both... Ziggy was busy. Ziggy is here. Ziggy's still here, but he's going on a trip very soon. And I was busy playing Chronicles, to be blunt with you guys. And that's it. But let's start with a good old Sky Arena. Because first thing with that, remember when Lost Centuria came out? Everyone would still call Sky Arena Summoner's War because nobody respected Centuria. But now we have Summoner's War is referred to as Sky Arena, and then Chronicles is still Chronicles. But it's reached a point where you don't want to call Sky Arena Summoner's War anymore. You just call it Sky Arena. You actually want to differentiate it. I think that that says something about the state of the game.
It's actually incredible how quickly that started. Like it was within 1 week, everyone was referring to it like as Sky Arena and then Chronicles.
Yep.
It took a week though, but all of a sudden, like I see every other streamer says like not Summoner's War anymore. We're playing Sky Arena.
Mm-hmm. And I find that as like they're kind of shitting on Sky Arena is my interpretation of it, honestly, and rightfully so. I would agree. What do you think, Sir?
I would also say that within the immediate release of Chronicles, and I want to even say like almost the first whole week, there was just so many people saying, I don't think I'm going to play Chronicles. I don't think Chronicles is for me. And I feel like it's been a 180 flip for everybody, even including me, where I was like, you know what? This is going to be a lot of time investment. I'm not too sure I'm willing to, put the time into Chronicles where, I'm trying to play other games, of course, keeping up with Sky Arena at the same time. And now I found myself just absolutely losing sleep, staying up to 2 a.m., 3 a.m., still freaking grinding Chronicles.
Yes.
What are you grinding? Fishing or what?
No, fishing. You
Professions. Oh God.
You do that while you sleep. You don't do it while you're awake. That's insane. That's insanity.
No.
But that's the greatest thing to do. This is a early tip. Fish overnight while you're sleeping, or while you're away at work. Do something like that. Fishing.
There's a lot of things to do overnight, to be honest. Yeah. There's just there, and I feel like that's a great thing that Chronicles is already nailing. Like, we are busy, and I think that's that's important.
Mm-hmm. We're deterring already from talking about Sky Arena. As much as we want to deter from it, we should talk about it.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Well, we're not going to spend long on it by the looks of it. I'd rather talk about Chronicles right now, to be honest. But how do you guys feel? Like, we already know the state of the game is garbage, but it's not just an RTA. It's just more of so like now that we got something fresh like Chronicles, it doesn't feel like we have much to do in Sky Arena anymore. Siege has been in a dumpster pretty much the whole year. Lockie could correct me on that. Feel like because nothing's changed in the meta except until Dominic's buff, I believe, which was 6 months ago, something like that. And then
I think March,
like
early March, something.
Yeah,
like
so
that.
Pretty much the Oliver time zone. Everything relating to that patch ended up bringing the game on a downhill slope.
Like they nerfed Oliver and buffed Dominic, and
was that the same patch? The nerf.
I think it was the same or one patch apart, but it was pretty quickly in time.
What do you think, Ziggy? Ziggy. Ziggy.
I was like,
Respond to me, Ziggy.
Ziggy, not Ziggy. Ziggy.
No, it's Ziggy.
So we're talking about here is when how much has the game changed since the buff of, I guess, Dominic, and then just how Oliver's been? Is the question here? I mean, nothing's really changed ever since those two have become super dominant. We saw plenty of SWC where Dominic was actually game changing in plenty of the matches here, and then throughout all of SWC of how irritating Oliver's been for absolutely everybody. That is the meta. The meta right now is first pick Oliver, second pick Waterryu Masha, and it hasn't changed. Even as low into Conqueror ranks, that's still like that's it. It's those three units, and then
Boring.
Dominic has just been outstanding with his ability to remove units from the field immediately. So yes, things are not good. Things are just not good at all.
And ever since I pulled Oliver, which was I pulled it in Korea, Obabo, I don't even want to thank him for it. Anyone that was there, when he pulled me Oliver, they saw the look on my face. I was just disappointed. I would have wanted anything else that was missing from my box and Oliver. I'm like, I'll take it, but I'm not happy about it. And I tried playing with it. I'm just depressed playing it. Like, it's not enjoyable at all. And I don't get how some people.
Do you remember when Obabo got Bella? He was also at, I think, SWC 2 years or at an event, I think, from Come to Us.
Yeah.
And Keen, the
2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago, and marketing person from Come to Us Europe pulled him a Bella, and he was so unhappy. And how long has it been dominating for him? He's literally abusing it with Han Bella. He was like playing for 1.5 years at top level with it, and barely people could do anything against that unless they LD counter spammed him.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be too disappointed unless he gets actually the big nerf. Then you probably won't be playing him a lot.
No, well, if they keep him where he just operates as a 33, but he sucks like Samoth and Vanessa level, then it's fine. But I don't know, I'm not trying to have another podcast regarding Oliver fucking nerfs discussions.
I think you hear that with
it is so
OG Sneaky too much.
I don't even want to comment on Oliver because this horse has been dead.
It's beaten down.
I'm not sure. Like in terms of what changed this year, I think you guys are not 100% correct. I think a major shift in meta has actually happened this year, and it's not because of Oliver and Dominic. It's because these bear runes are absurd.
Yes.
They have become absurd. Despair runes have always been around. People have been playing Juno and sometimes surprise units with Despair, but ever since Scribble Dribble, and I call him Scribble Dribble here as well, playing 3 Despair units and 1 Wire unit, it's absolutely insane. This is completely toxic. This is breaking everything. I mean, we knew AoE strips and all this somewhat cleavish meta with speed comps and whatnot was already like really tough to deal with, and you had like Antares and Leo and all that stuff to counter it, but you can't really counter Despair, and you can't counter Despair spam, especially not with turn cycling units. This is going into spheres that is actually like back in the day Vio broken, where every unit just proc afterwards. So for the balance patch, like, I guess that's kind of the next topic that we would talk about anyway, like what we expect for the balance patch. Sure, you have those specific units that definitely need a nerf, like I would say Masha, Oliver, even maybe Dominic just a little bit, because he still does insane amounts of damage.
Yeah.
He doesn't need death breaks, he doesn't need a setup. If he gets a setup, you're dead. Doesn't matter what build you have. But besides that, I think Despair nerf and maybe making it similar to Vio, like in terms of effect, would be like already drastically changing what has happened this year and what has emerged from meta standpoints.
I'm not opposed to Despair getting a Vio treatment as well. Makes it more a little more fair in terms, because we know Juno, the Despair lock of Juno on your water unit. It doesn't need any more explanation. I lost to it yesterday when I was streaming Skyrim. Got freaking botched. My water Ryu got stun locked by the Juno. It continuously stun lock, and then she'd AoE and then stun lock. And then
I mean, Juno was always played on Despair, but I think Juno was always kind of a very fair unit, so to say. I guess what really broke Juno with Despair now is that she actually gets the attack speed buff.
yeah,
Because she literally stun locks your water units now for sure, because, well, you'd land one debuff and you will definitely have a rough time 1v1 against her.
yeah.
It was definitely a buff that Juno didn't need. Juno was just already super good in the first place, but just to have that, Juno is like a top tier Nat 5 because of her ability to just keep up with the turns. For example, I would like to bring up when Jackson, I pulled a Jackson the Friday before Oracles got nerfed. The Oracles were nerfed on skill 1 the weekend of, and when I pulled Jackson, I was like, guys, I'm back. Like, this is gonna be freaking crazy, because I had Juno and Praha basically violent proccing on Despair, because of Jackson's 50% increase in the attack bar.
Yeah.
Juno went, and then Juno went again, and then Juno went again, and like, it was just a stupid amount of attack bar I was gaining off of skill 1 with Juno and Praha. Back then, I'd say it was completely correct, and to get the speed buff at least, I can't do what I was doing before, but Juno is still absolutely insane with her ability to get these turns back so fast.
Yeah.
And imagine you had the cookie to add to that comp.
Which cookie?
The fire
vanilla
one.
not vanilla
The fire
cookie,
one?
but yeah, the fire one. That gives you
additional
like
bar as well.
I mean,
Yeah, I get
basically,
it.
if you have her with oracles, you have the same attack bar gain as before, and if you had that not nerfed, oh my goodness.
You didn't care. You just spam oracles and win.
Yeah, exactly. You have her
Oracles?
and oracles, and
Yeah.
then revenge bird just for like ultra toxicity,
Oh.
and that's it.
That's too much toxicity.
Yeah.
Well, we
I
can-
mean, I
I'd swap my
tried.
Praha to Despair just for that, just to keep up with the Despair stuns everywhere,
who
because
would
it's
even
like
have
you're
on
just getting too
Vio
many
one?
turns.
Who would be Vio on your team?
Who would be
Jackson?
violent?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jackson, to keep up with the skill 2 for skill 2 stuns.
Okay.
Stuns, might I add, in
Yeah,
quotes,
it's
because it never happens.
Nerfs, buffs.
Nerfed and buffed in quote. Everything from now on is in quotations. All right.
Yes, exactly. A nerfed unit, a buffed unit. Nerf
Yep.
oracles.
Do we all agree if this patch is a flop, Sky Arena's like in a massive
Sky Arena's in devastating. Dude, I'm telling you right now, if this patch is bad, Sky Arena is absolutely devastated right now. And if Comptos had a brain, they need to make sure that this is a good patch, that it's going to please the community. Because right now the community is very pleased with Chronicles.
Yeah, a good chunk of them. And everyone who's, like we said, you said at the beginning, anyone who was shit talking Chronicles, they try it out and they're like, oh, this is actually
Yep.
enjoyable. It's like kind of wild. You can play it
Every
on,
SWC, they say it. See you next year. This better be a good patch,
Yeah.
because I don't think
they're not
anyone's going
gonna
to see him next
many
year.
people next year. They're not
No.
going to be able to afford the venue next year if this patch is ass. They're really not.
Well, the way they push packs and Chronicles, oh no.
Yeah,
no,
they'll afford Chronicle events.
I was
Go
about to
stuff
say
for
they're going to
Chronicles.
drop the event.
For Chronicles, we're Gucci, but for Sky Arena, you know, there's gonna see the sales have dropped 80%. Yeah, nothing's happening, dude. Nothing's gonna happen for SWC. Well, they may force one out, but I don't see it happening.
I think if they want to try and keep Sky Arena, I guess, financially alive, they should definitely start doing more merge things with Chronicles and Sky Arena. So,
Merge
like,
won't
you do
matter.
things in Chronicles to get you more in Sky Arena, you do things in Sky Arena to get you more in Chronicles.
But I
Whether they're events or specific shops, dare I say. Let's say you summon a Nat 5 in Chronicles,
Mhm.
that could be like a earned spot to potentially getting like a Devilmon in Sky Arena. Or let's say you summon an LD Nat 5, or no, it doesn't matter. Let's say you summon a Nat 5 in Sky Arena, it would get you a skill up in Chronicles.
Oh, I mean, I would just love, since in Sky Arena, Nigong is fucking useless and will always be. I just want him in Chronicles and be super happy because anything that I get is gonna be a skill up going pumped into Nigong.
yeah.
Because a reviver, AoE reviver, a healer, AoE healer, and immunity buff. That's all I'm looking for in Chronicles. But on the side of Sky Arena, I think they have actually tried. I think they're actually trying and experimenting with things, and
Hmm.
I'm kind of glad they're doing it because it's exposing that things are just not as easy in Sky Arena, especially when you want to please everyone and the majority. I mean, the most recent patch in Sky Arena was the siege change, and that was like a huge impact for at least those that play siege. I mean, kind of everyone that is in a guild plays siege, even if it's in a farming guild. Nonetheless, and that huge change from 24-hour siege duration to 12-hour, like the 1 day siege change,
Yeah.
that messed a lot of people up because people that are usually busy, or in Firas' case, someone that is playing from a different time zone,
Yeah.
those were cucked like a shit ton by this patch, and it made it literally impossible for most of them to actually attend the siege in a meaningful or proper time. Sure, you could always come online really early on and rush your attacks if it's possible. That's also like the thing. If it's possible, if the targets are open, if they're there. And there was also like with the system, with the point system change, there came a bug that I'm just about to expose exclusively here on WAP. So when you are playing the normal siege during the season, and you do 2v1, for example, and I'm not talking because I'm an expert in 2v1. It's just a calculation that we did.
Yeah.
If you really want to fuck the third guild, you just place one unit defenses on your, basically on your ally, so to say.
Yeah.
And you just farm points, and you would end the siege before they would even have the entire guild on contribution. So you and your allies would basically have 20,000 points within like 6 hours or something. I mean, if you do the math and calculate, it's like, I think it's 4.5 or 5 hours or something, where you would basically be at 20,000 points already, and the opponent would have zero chance in
win,
basically not even winning, and basically probably even half the guild would not even have contribution because you would just, cuck them by tower taking and rebuilding the towers, and during that time you would just trade towers like with 1-star defenses.
And the only
And
way
it's
to fix
awful. It's awful. I don't know if anyone has told them. I don't know if anyone from Come to Us is watching this, but please, Betchy, if you're watching this, make sure that this absolutely gets fixed, because the point system change on top of the time change literally was a really bad idea.
There's the only way to fix that, if they want to keep it at a 12-hour span, is to remove points gained from taking someone's tower, right?
Or lower the tower build-up. Basically, it's a 1 hour tower build-up. So you basically trade 12 times. You basically trade towers 12 times. That's it.
That's all.
So
that's all the math comes out to.
that's exactly. I mean, which in theory, I mean, we have been sitting there and thinking about in theory like what it would actually do strategically, since they also allowed the 8 and 11 and 12 and 9 connection. So basically net 5 and net 4 towers, which would basically speed up the games. But I don't know what happened in global, and maybe you can tell us, Stoic, but in Europe, people started to play exactly the same, and we thought it would basically be more of a global play style that we would have to play, because you could rush towers and push deeper and have to take more towers to actually get all the attacks done. But it absolutely the contrary happened in Europe. So we started playing exactly the same or kind of similar with even less maneuvers.
So that's all really, really intriguing for Rig, but I haven't done raids in guild content since 2019. I've been retired, and I haven't touched guild content since 2019.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So in Summon Resort Sky Arena, I love to show the things that I dislike very much with how much I don't do them. So I don't like guild content anymore, haven't done it since 2019. I'm C1 in Arena, can't stand Arena. And I don't like TOA Hell. I am 1-star, and I leave it all at that, just to prove, like, my opinion on the content in the game.
So you didn't even try out World Guild War?
Nope.
Okay.
Never touched
a lot
it.
of labor,
Because that's kind of the next issue. I mean, they tried something new and refreshing, which is fine. But I think it's way too tedious now. Being in a guild, and especially in a top guild, you are literally forced to rerun daily multiple times, prepare, build counters for everything, which is nice for someone that is highly motivated and can spend a shit ton of time in the game. But for everyone else, I mean, you skip one content, you're instantly called a slacker or have the branding of a slacker. And yeah, sure, in terms of for someone that is like highly addicted and wants to do everything and does everything, you are a slacker. But depends on the time. I mean, some people don't have the time or just don't have the time for that.
Yeah, the key word there was tedious for me, and that's exactly why I didn't partake in any of that.
You think they should have presets like we do in Chronicles? Rune presets, would that solve any issues in speeding it up? Or is it just...
I mean, for World Guild War, it would already be fantastic if you, while you're preparing those offenses against specific defenses, if you could go into the rune menu from there. I don't know why they didn't do it, because you can do it in every fucking other content, and that is literally like the only content where it's relevant, because you have to rune 15 monsters that you usually you don't have everything ruined all the time. I mean, sure, you can use your defenses as offenses, which basically means you're like a G1 brain.
It's such a minor thing too. Like if we can already have a quick button, or I can't remember the wording for it, to get you like right into your auto farm.
Just having the access
Why
to
can't you do
the
that for
storage.
runes?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why can't I have a quick access to my storage box when I'm in my rune inventory too, to bring out a monster? Why'd I have to go from my island to my storage building, pull out a unit if I want to do it properly, or if I do it the scuffed way, is I go into my artifacts or my runes, go into my storage, pick the unit, move the runes back off or on that I want to do it through there. Why can't I just access a storage unit through the main inventory? Like when I click, you know what I'm talking about when I click the monster?
Yeah, I know. That's the main reason why I have everything outside. I don't care. Like the stuff that I put on defense, I usually put in storage. But I don't go through the process of min-maxing the, like, oh, I'm hiding something and I have to change runes, and I go through 4 monsters to get to there to swap one rune. Friends and guildies have been asking me, why are you leaving everything outside? Dude, I need everything for Siege World Guild. I just leave it outside. Like, what the fuck? If someone wants to look, they go look, whatever, you know. You still have to beat the defense.
Just offense unit. Doesn't matter. And most of the time it doesn't.
Most of the time. So if I have something on defense, I usually put it in storage after I ruin it or something. But yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that you have to have no access from at least like World Guild War,
anywhere.
Which is...
Just let me access it from anywhere that I am. Like, just leave it hovering. Like, get rid of the chat for all I care. Let me have a
it could be like one button, basically. Like we're bringing it up where they're doing it good. It's like in Chronicles, where you can basically just click on the runes, and then you click on the search for rune button, and then you have like the entire rune box in storage. While you're fighting, you're actually able to switch runes and stuff like that. I mean, in Sky Arena, it makes no sense because it's strategic turn-based and stuff, but you know, being in the menus, why not? I mean, they did it in Chronicles. Why don't they do that in Sky Arena?
No, for all we know, maybe they're working on it, but not trying to go too deep into Sky Arena because it's infuriating to talk about. Siege has its issues. The main content of this game is RTA and Siege. The PvE is PvE. We don't need more PvE content, if you ask me. It's just these, and both of them are in a shit place right now. You can't even, like, one is not carrying the other. Both of them are hated. We're both hoping, or everyone here and everyone else in general that plays this game is hoping that the patch addresses both of these issues. Is there anything on the patch? This will be the ending of Sky Arena discussion. On the patch, what are we looking forward to? Personally, I imagine cookies are going to be on the patch. We know some sort of Oliver patch or nerf is coming. And I don't know what else they're going to do regarding just the units. What are we looking for? What are we fucking hoping for? Because I don't even know anymore.
So not Despair Runes going down to 15%?
That's not like the busted portion of the patch is what I'm getting at.
Alright. Okay.
What do you want to see, Ziggy? Zigbear.
Hold on, because I have lots of complaints. So I know I do want to see Fermion on a patch. I would love to see Fermion on there. And I keep talking about the one buff from Fermion that I really truly want. Is because there's already a dark unit that does something like this. And I think it would be fair to see Fermion have the same kind of role is Nephthys. When Nephthys hits, everything's going to be applied unless there's glancing applied to Nephthys. And Fermion's already in that boat right now. Is if he has glancing on him, he's not able to apply anything. Like there's no defense break, there's no provokes coming out if he has glancing. Period. Because he's part of that. I don't know if you guys remember the glancing list, but that glancing list has some of those monsters included on it where they're not capable of doing anything if glancing is applied on the unit. I want Fermion to hit every single unit and it lands provoke. Period. Nothing you can do about it. Just like Nephthys.
I don't think that's too much to ask for, honestly.
You one turn provoke?
Sounds complicated.
No,
I don't think so. Is Nephthys complicated where it hits
kind
you
of
and it applies first skill and hits you with the Curse of Beautiful, applies all negative effects?
Yeah, like no matter what she silences, whether it's a glancing hit or not.
Correct.
Just
Yes,
like
the silent.
increased cooldown, it always lands whether it's glanced or not. I don't think.
So if
I think
if Fermion had that ability, because in his passive, it's if he hits with first skill or even second skill, he has the ability to provoke. So the same way the silence is going to be landing with Nephthys, I want it to be provokes.
we call it a floating provoke, a floating, so it's not affected by anything other than resistance, I guess. Accuracy res checks. Is that the right terminology?
I guess. Whatever it takes to get more provokes out of Fermion, that's his utility. Because he stays on the field, he's super tanky, and he's really tough to get rid of. But he sits on the field and nobody cares. That's the problem. So for me, I would love to see Fermion a lot better in that. And that's honestly, it's just because I own him. So immediate things that I own that I'd like to see buff. Jackson's second skill, obviously, I can't stand. It's okay as a strip, but the strip stun's what everybody's looking for. But I think that's way too broken to sit there and be like, Jackson, like more consistent strip stun second skill. Like that's a lot, man. That is a lot, and Jackson's already a very good unit.
Jackson.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Same as Miles, right? The skill 2.
Same skill 2 as Miles, yep. Except Miles does way more damage than Jackson ever will.
Pretty much. What about you, Lockie? What do you want to see?
I think a good siege rework would be nice, at least in terms of guild content. When it comes to balance patching, I just want a decent meta shift. But what I really want to see would be a big comeback of resistance. In my opinion, it's way too easy to. I think it's way too easy to get accuracy and decent stats at the same time. And either you have the res check removed, but lower properties of accuracy on all runes and generally on gains of artifacts.
Yeah.
Because it's way too easy to get to 85 accuracy right now, and it's super easy, but it's really hard to get to 100 res while you're at 160, 170 speed. So something needs to maybe be done, and I wish that artifacts would do more in that regard, like help out more. I like the turn. I also like the turn 2 playstyle possibility, and I think it needs to be in the game, and it doesn't need to work and function through broken units. I think it should be okay if you basically specifically have runes that are as slow, for example, as Livets in that regard, but are really chunky and tanky. I mean, he's literally overdoing it in terms of slowness, but someone that wants to have a decent pace should be able to play like that as well. It just comes down to runes, but you can't do that. I mean, you can possibly with really good rolls, you can do that, but you can't do that in terms of the opponent always has 85 accuracy if he's not brain dead, basically, and then nothing works, to be honest. I mean, you have res leads and all that stuff, and that helps and adds up, but you barely reach 100 res on a proper rune team at a decent speed. It's impossible.
Easier to just slap a res rune on slot 6, but that you do still need, most likely, you still need accuracy on top of that.
I mean, that's the thing. If you have, for example, the comparison between a slot 6 accuracy Chongpong and a slot 6 res Praha, the difference is huge. Yeah? I mean, you get it. Like, for me, it's like the Chongpong benefits so much more from that than the Praha from the res on slot 6. Basically, it does nothing, afterwards when you have that. I mean, sure, you have 100 res, that's nice, but yeah, that's it.
I don't see Comtos touching resistance because resistance already comes off as such an RNG factor. There's too many situations where people are not running resistance and everyone's running 85 to 100 to whatever number they want over 85 accuracy. And it just doesn't matter. You go in there and you're like, all right, this guy's reset. And then the game just chucks you the fingers and you're sitting there like, what happened? Like, clearly the guy's running maximum resistance. He's not. He's not running max resistance. It's just this imaginary thing that's completely made up and it's working. The resistance is the most tilting thing to ever pop up in this game. I feel like, all right, minus, violent procs happening after violent procs, the 12%, but like resistance really is a very frustrating thing. And I think since this year has been my first time ever dabbling in turn one play, pretty much ever since Oliver is where I first started really dabbling in turn one play. And I've never lost so many irritating matches where it's like, yeah, this guy's not getting a turn. And you're like, wait, resist, that didn't reset? Like, what happened? Like, clearly he's running maximum resistance on everything. And I feel like that's not something this game's going to need, especially if we're talking about the longevity of Summoners War Sky Arena.
Like the 15% checks? Or do you mean like really 100 res? Like a really high resistance team?
No, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. I've run. I can't remember how many. It was double digits. It was either 12 or 14 maximum resistance units in RTA playing turn 2 as a ragdoll user, and I just sat there and I'm like, why did I do this to myself? Why am I sitting here going for maximum resistance when it all just doesn't even matter? And it was the most frustrating thing because like I keep anything with high value. That means, like, a lot of people are like, why would you keep that? It double rolled into resistance. I'm like, clearly you don't understand value here. There were 2 maximum rolls into resistance. Of course I'm going to keep this. I'm running a ragdoll. I'm not worried about the speed here. And then it just doesn't matter. I'm tired of getting kicked in the nuts, having all this value and all this hard work put into my runes because of, like, I'm sitting here trying to value resistance. So I stopped that. I'm running 7 max resistance units right now in RTA, and every one of them I would honestly sit there and say they're completely useless having max resistance.
And what happened on top to all this accuracy being way easier to gain than resistance in terms of
Yep.
statting? What really kicked it in the nuts, as you said, is despair. Despair this season, basically, or not this season, but this year, basically, is completely like ridiculing resistance as a stat, because despair just goes through. And you can't even resist that stun. I mean, it can, in my opinion, it could even be nerfed to that regard, where you basically have 25% chance to stun, or even 35% chance, but you have like your resistance, flipping the coin and maybe even resisting the stun if it happens.
And so multi-hits bypassing glancing is also annoying too. I don't know if they could even adjust that. But, like, it's hard to even make that because if you guys know how multi-hit works with in regards to despair, and then if you glance on one of the hits, it doesn't matter. If before the multi-hit started, the game decided that your despair activated, if one of the hits doesn't glance, you're gonna get the despair stun. And stuff like that, where someone takes a despair chunk pung into your max res Rika, and he does a full pushback, and then on top of that he'll stun it because he bypassed one of the glance checks, then it's frustrating to play turn 2 and like try to benefit from being max res and tanking all that. It doesn't matter when you have all these units that just with the rune set, it doesn't matter. And I don't know if, like we talk about, it's been spoken about for many years, and some Sky Arena, but to be specific to Sky Arena, I don't know if there's anything they could do. They already, like, instead of adding res with accuracy and artifacts, they just gave you accuracy. They made res pointless. There's no way to benefit from res anymore. And I don't even I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do.
I mean, either open the full gates of RNG and really make it full RNG in terms of everything. Everything can be resisted. Stuns, pushbacks, and everything, and basically allow resistance to actually work properly and not be like always a 15% stat, which is already RNG in itself, but just give people the ability to stack, like open up the numbers. Let's see how much resistance people can stack on their units, and then basically let's see how much accuracy people can stack on their units.
So I know the issue with that though.
Yeah.
So the issue with that is opening up the numbers or doing something that may not work out well for them. So if Comptos does something that may not work out for them, but they let it run, like let's just say the changes they made to Violent Runes, and it killed Violent Runes. I don't believe Comptos is going to put enough testing into something to then just say like, oh, we just open up the numbers and we'll just see how things are running. See how things are running is like a year, 2 years of seeing how things are running.
Yeah.
So I also understand this, and they've proven this fact way too many times, and we don't need to sit here and ask this kind of question to Comptos. Comptos does not have a big enough testing team. We are out here still beta testing 2v2. We are out here beta testing Chronicles because Comptos does not have the resources. They do not have the team to do this kind of testing. This is a mobile company that is not this massive, huge, even Blizzard-sized company. Blizzard's not as big as people think Blizzard is, but Blizzard's big. Blizzard's a big company. But compared to Comptos, Comptos is a drop in the pond compared to companies like Blizzard. And to ask for them to open up the numbers, they're not going to do any of that testing. Opening up the numbers is, go ahead, community, give it a shot, and you know, we'll see how things go. And they'll just read the Reddit forums, and they'll listen to YouTube videos popping out there. And like, if things in absolute fire, like the game goes down, there's no way in hell Comptos opens up the numbers for nothing, because they're one to take the easy way out. Comptos needs the easy way out and the sure thing. So if there was a change to Resistance, I don't know what they would do, because I'm telling you right now, they wouldn't do the testing, or they wouldn't have the data or the resources to do the kind of testing that we're looking for Resistance. But in the case of Despair, all they would do is bring the number down, and that would fix Despair, in my opinion. Which is where I brought up, like, why is it not 15%, where we've seen this number among many other situations where 15% works here, 15% doesn't work here, but like 15% isn't that the dice roll?
Yeah, it's a 1 in 6.
It's the dice roll.
It's a little bit
and I
under
think
a
that's
1
the
in
best
6,
way
but
to go about it. So even bringing up Resistance right now, like, we could talk about anything we want about Resistance, but I'm telling you right now, Comptos is not able to. They are physically not able to do the testing and all the to get all the details, I guess, together for testing it properly, so that they don't make changes to Resistance, say, here you guys go, and then they sit there and then they watch to see how things went, because they don't have the resources to do that. 100%.
I think we can do a really good shift from here to MMOs, and then to Chronicles, basically, because this is not a game company issue, because Comptos is too small. Their revenue is actually saying something else, and the money.
Revenue's irrelevant in my eyes. They're not making their team any bigger.
I mean, exactly. I mean, I don't think that Summoner's War is coded by more than 4 people, to be honest. I really don't think so. Like,
in this aspect, I know nothing about it, but I wouldn't be surprised either. It's just
no,
4 people.
I'm absolutely convinced this is a 10-man team, ops, and 10 is already a number that is huge. And I think 3 or 4 are already in the design team, so you can subtract them from the development team. And I guess there's one team leader who doesn't code, and the rest is basically coding or anything. So I don't think the team is big, and they're making so much money off of it. I mean, I'm not critiquing that. I'm just critiquing, if anything, what you said, Stoic. But this is also a mentality issue. I don't know, Stoic, have you played Final Fantasy XIV?
No, I never got into Final Fantasy.
Okay, so basically, I mean, you and I, we played WoW, and I don't know how hardcore you have played WoW back in the day, especially like in the first 2 expansions or 3 expansions. But I mean, I was in the Elitist Jerks forum. It was a forum that was literally about people crunching numbers and finding out what rotations, DPS rotations, and what ticks and everything, minimum stats, soft caps, hard caps. So these guys were like, there was some crazy mathematician guys in there that were cracking numbers all day. And I come from that background, and basically when I stopped playing WoW and transitions into Final Fantasy, which was the shift from Western MMOs to Eastern MMOs, like my very first one, it was a completely different experience for me, because we had the exact same problem that we have right now, or that we opened up in terms of, we don't get the numbers, we don't get what the stats do, we don't get exact information. People are trying to data mine, but they get nothing out of there because it's literally a huge black box, which I always describe Summoners War Sky Arena. See, I was about to say Summoners War, which I describe Sky Arena as to other people when they always complained about res checks and everything. It's a huge black box. You put in a skill into that black box, and out comes poo. So and you don't know, and you don't know how it's processed. You just know like there's something going in and shit coming out. So basically, you're not aware what is going on in that black box. And that was the same for Final Fantasy. And I think this is like a mentality thing. They have very similar mentalities to that because probably they're hiding something. And I'm pretty sure now that I'm older and convinced after playing so many more games, pretty sure that they actually don't know how their game works. So that's why I'm saying like it's not many teams, it's not many people including in the team, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that they really aren't aware. Probably they're not even playing their own game, and what they're doing.
That's proven. In my opinion, that's proven. I full-heartedly don't believe they play their own game, and that's where their testing gets involved. Because their testing gets involved where they're not putting the big numbers that your top 100, your top 200 players are even putting into a game, whether it's Chronicles, whether it's Sky Arena. They are not pushing those numbers because they've never been up there. They didn't know they had to do these kind of numbers. They're not playing their own game to realize that, if something's at this speed with this amount of attack power, what kind of stats is going to put out because of the artifacts that he has, exploiting all of that nonsense. Like they don't know that because they're not playing their own game. They have no clue.
So for me, it's kind of like the guys that actually coded this and invented this and made all the numbers and everything kind of put to work. They're either not there anymore or they are there, but they haven't like realized what the result of most of the stuff is. I mean, I remember Firas with his ticket about Nyx and Gianna, and suddenly Gianna got a nerf, a shadow nerf. Basically, Gianna wasn't working anymore after that, and it was Firas' fault.
It wasn't my fault. Right? I was correct. There was the bug that happened first, and then they thought they corrected Gianna, and they did, except against Nyx.
So you're proving what I've just said, basically about them not having a clue what changing a couple of numbers and arrays in a code actually does. I mean, that's kind of where I saw that something is definitely fishy in there, and in terms of like they really, I'm pretty sure they don't know what they're doing most of the time.
It kind of feels like that, I gotta be honest. But
that feels very that definitely feels very, very right. That they had people from their very first foundation, they're no longer there, and there's new people on there who learned the code and thought they understand, but they're like, oh, we'll just make this change here. It shouldn't be a problem. Oh, it was devastating, and then they have to like go and fix it because they don't have the original guys that came up with it in the first place.
That's very possible.
Another thing where I noticed
that
they really don't know what they're doing was. There was some patch. So basically, we played in Doubt. We played a long time ago. We played Kamoon, Orion, Savannah as defense. You remember, Firas?
Yes.
Played it very successfully, and it was... I don't know if the bug existed back then, but we noticed that since we had, like years after, we had Narshas in defenses.
Yeah.
And it was literally us doing a session in voice chat with Billy playing his own defense. And his Narsha was hitting the left target that you put up. Doesn't matter what you put up, by 99% of the rate. And depends, sometimes S2, sometimes S1, but most of the time S1, but 99% of rate. He tested it, like, he started that fight. It was tedious, like, it was 200 times starting his own fight, attacked his own defense. And Narsha was just hitting left side, and at some point, I don't know if it was always like that, because it's kind of the same with every Beast Rider, or was, but with Narsha specifically. I don't know if it was always like that, or if that actually was a bug that actually got implemented with some patch, where some changes have been made, and probably some coding line was shifted, or pushed onto the Beast Riders to do exactly that. And that's just one example. I mean, there's probably a lot of things out there that we don't see and realize about Sky Arena. And I think that's why they're pushing the same game genre, or the IP, into new games. So they tried What was the game called that we also played?
Lost
Card
Centuria? Oh, no.
Lost Centuria.
Oh, okay. Yes, Lost Centuria.
Yeah, Lost Centuria. Yeah, I think they made even one before that, where it was like a 2D field strategy thing, but that flopped really fast. It was also like
It was
I
a
think it was
Summoners
just
War
a
game? It wasn't a Summoners.
no, it was no. Sorry, it was not a Summoners War game. I think they have a couple of releases in between of games. They try out, which one works and stuff. But I guess they decided to go with the IP since, I mean, all in all, Summoners War in general, like, doesn't matter if Sky Arena or Centuria, they kind of have a broad scale of influence and a lot of players, a big player base, and that's why they probably just use the IP. And I think they basically coded a lot in Chronicles right now from scratch and new, and it actually works. So when you have accuracy on your unit, you actually lance it, and there's no 15% res checks, and you can actually,
Did they take out 15 res checks?
I have no idea, but I feel like there is. I mean, you have precision and evasion, which is kind of the stat that counters each other, and I don't feel like I'm missing a lot. Maybe on raid bosses, but that is something MMO specific. Stoic knows about that as well. That you always have like a 1, 2, 3% or 5% miss chance or something, which you cannot like get rid of. That was also like a standard thing in MMOs until you hit a specific soft cap or hard cap or something.
That's news to me.
Yeah, like you could like for example in WoW, you had to reach a specific soft cap to basically have like 1% of your attacks miss or even less, basically.
Your hit rating.
Hit rating.
We can use, I guess, like Wrath Lich King. Are you playing retail or are you playing classic?
I stopped retail like in 2.10, 2.11.
Okay.
Like during end of Lich King, I quit basically.
Gotcha.
And I played classic now, up to like Burning Crusade. But I didn't touch Wrath the Lich King.
Yep, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So I guess we use the hit rate as an example here. So like playing Ret Paladin, I need to have an 8% hit rate, and that allows me to hit the bosses. But if I stood behind a boss, I can have like a 4% hit rate standing behind the boss where you're not facing him. So if I don't have this, I'm not going to successfully deal damage or even hit the target. Like it'll just miss. It misses and misses, and then you're yielding no damage at all. And then you have to get these kind of things to work, to make your class work in the first place.
Okay. Well, let me pause for a sec because I really want to get into the Chronicles discussion. And the one thing is, I don't have a very good MMO background. The only MMO I've played is Guild Wars 2. And I found it very messy, very convoluted. Just because I haven't, like, if it even qualifies as MMO, you guys would have to tell me. It is?
Yep.
Okay, so
it
is an MMO.
Yeah.
I didn't play it hardcore. I never did raid bosses. I just, I walked around, I farmed, I did the story. I got to level 80. I remember that was the cap then. And I just played whatever. I don't remember much of it at all anymore. I played it when Guild Wars first came out, whatever year that was. And I dropped it fairly quick after that. I played a decent amount, but I did end up dropping it. And then I haven't picked up another MMO game until Chronicles. First thing I want to ask, is Chronicles an actual MMO?
Yes.
It does qualify as an MMO?
Yes.
You two are MMO players, you know best. Okay.
Yep.
So it is an MMO. And does it compare to other MMOs that you have played, such as World of Warcraft? Is it comparable to that, or is it a totally different game?
So I say totally different game. I understand where it's comparable, but totally different game in my eyes.
I've never played WoW, so this is why I'm asking. I'm actually asking for myself, and I guess for other people who have never touched WoW, who are watching this.
So, in my opinion, the PC version of Chronicles has the ability, or has, I guess, a foundation to become a very, very good MMO. But where I stand on it as a really good MMO is how good are the dungeons and how good are the raids. And for me, that's what decides, it's a good MMO, because there's challenges. If it's an MMO and it's like Sky Arena, just get bigger numbers, man, and then bigger numbers defeats boss. And like once you get those baseline numbers to stay alive, it's all about beating it faster and then getting it better than other people and ranking up higher because your units are A, better composition, B, throw bigger numbers out onto the field. I am not going to say it's a great MMO if that's the direction they take this game in.
But as of now,
in my opinion,
as of now,
yeah.
but that's
So-
like
so-
yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, that was exactly what I wanted to say. Like they are at a very good crossroads. I don't know, Stoic. How far have you you have done Foggy, I guess, in Chronicles, right? Or
I
you
did my
raid?
second foggy run this morning.
Okay. So basically, the White Shadow Castle that just got released yesterday,
Yep.
is probably showing you exactly that they are trying to make this into a really good MMO. Like I'm really highly hopeful after running it myself, because what they're doing right now is they're implementing a couple of dungeons and they're going through a lot of mechanics. I had it earlier on your stream with Apsy about it, and I completely agree with him. This is a really good step into how this game can be presented as a really good similar MMO to World of Warcraft, because World of Warcraft was also like a huge mess when it came out. I mean, I remember I was like 15. Nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew what was good. That was the most interesting. Like the first 2 years were the most interesting time in gaming that I ever had, because nobody knew shit. And if you were good at something, you were the beast. Like you were the boss. You know.
Did you ever
So,
watch the background on Classic though, like the intentions of World of Warcraft in the first place?
No, actually not, because I think it was a lot of story based. They wanted to
Yes.
kind of they wanted to kind of like give you an exploration in terms of the story and the lore. And I mean, I come from Warcraft 3. Literally, World of Warcraft was my second MMO that I ever played. But
Yeah.
I came from Warcraft 3, and a lot of those German Warcraft 3 players, they wanted to play WoW for the story, you know, to see all of that. Oh, eventually we get to see and fight even the Lich King and etc. But they gave out beta keys, and I joined through them because I was kind of active in IRC and back in the day. And yeah, I mean, this game has really achieved a lot in terms of like it set all the standards that basically there are.
World of
Um,
Warcraft, you mean? At this time.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's basically a really huge lore that already exists in books, transported into a game. I don't know how, like, I'm not a Giga nerd in terms of that. Like, I don't know if it's 100% accurate or.
Giga nerd, what are you talking about?
This is the only nerdy thing I have I can show off.
Should I just bring out my Ashbringer now, or what?
Do you have one?
Oh, look! He's getting it out. He's getting out.
Walk,
Oh my god!
Or Ziggy
Watch
has
him.
it all. This is
Giga nerd.
Oh my god! Oh my
So,
god! The nerds.
Yeah,
Love it.
but it was like a really great experience because nobody knew what was going on and nobody knew how to play MMOs properly. People have been starting like after 1 and 2 years, the first add-ons came out where people were playing in raids with some boss modes and stuff like that, where they had announcements and stuff like that for boss abilities and all that stuff. So it was like like from nearly zero, basically just the genre MMO existed with Dark Age of Camelot before, where it was like massive meetings of people and clan battles and fucking each other up in PvP, to something where it steadily grew from basically stage 1 to everything we know about MMOs right now. That's like what World of Warcraft is. And you know where I would compare Chronicles in that regard is that they are for so there's two styles. There's like Western MMOs and there's like it used to be JRPGs and then started to basically become Asian RPGs and Asian MMOs. And Korea and China, they have a really similar style of making MMOs. I like the only Japanese MMO that I know on top of my head is Final Fantasy right now, and that is completely has like, at least from what I know, they don't have like a pay to win system at all implemented. So they are always like excluded from the Asian MMO perspective. I don't know how it is right now. It's been a while. I mean, World of Warcraft, Western MMOs usually didn't have cash shops as well. Maybe for skins or mounts and stuff like that. That was for the longest time in WoW. but recently you could buy upgrades and shit like that. I mean, I've been watching Asmongold a
Money
lot.
finds a way, and I think that's a tough thing to really argue. Money will honestly always find a way. Money finds a way in Chronicles today. Yeah, well, very obviously in Chronicles
There's
because we have all
already
the
bots.
packs and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's already bots farming. Don't worry. Like I've seen like.
Yeah, exactly. Like even to the things like it's not just about buying packs, but like you can pay for people to bot your account, so that does all the ridiculous farming. Like I mean, we looked at the armor sets. Like, come on, some of these armor sets are going to take you a while to achieve. But I mean, you could pay things to do all that farming for you. But in World of Warcraft, there's GDKPs where it's you put gold, but you can buy the gold to then get yourself placed into a run where a guild will do the run for you, and then you get handed the items. But you're basically buying selected items when it comes to World of Warcraft. But that was player created though.
It's not
Do you
as
mean
bad as
the dressing room? In Chronicles?
In Chronicles, yeah, the dressing room. So like you could
that,
that's
that's gonna
expensive and
yeah, that's gonna be a huge grind. Yes, I mean I just finished one set and it took me half a day to farm yarn balls. Firas was like question mark every time I told him I'm farming yarn balls, and he's like
grinding yarn balls.
Grinding yarn balls. Is that like
and
a
it's
fun?
just for one set. It took me like half a day, and I had a couple of yarn balls already ready.
But do you find that grind, that specific kind of grind, I imagine that carries over from other games as well. Like not MMOs. I'm always exempling MMOs at this, not Sky Arena.
Yep.
Who gives a shit. But like when the grind of like grinding something, I always know that was a thing in MMOs. That's a welcomed, enjoyable thing in MMOs, is it not? Like you're finally grinding out your yarn balls so you can craft a ridiculous costume because it gives you a set bonus.
Yep.
This is an enjoyable aspect of it.
I believe it's a necessary aspect because you have to at least gatekeep anybody who's sitting there just pressing the auto button and passively doing anything in the game. Just because someone sat in a chair has zero, like, remove the brain from Skull. This person sits in here and then just does this and gets everything they want. You have to gatekeep those people out of here. You have to make them actually physically do something, and then make them actually think about the compositions and how you rune stuff. So I think these are massive aspects that need to be nailed so that you at least gatekeep the brainless people and gatekeep even the people who have to spend a ton of money and think they can get handed everything. So going out of your way to farm and, like you said, spend a day and a half to try and get an armor set, like people who have all the money that won't go out of their way to like find someone to bot their account and then let's just say gatekeeping the people that just have a thick wallet but don't want to do something illegal. At least it gatekeeps them to play the game.
I mean, it's really necessary to gatekeep, especially in this regard where you can actually pay your way through. I mean, you can't really pay your way through. You can, the early stages, you could get a big advantage and all that, and that depends on Come to Us now at this point, where they want to head with the game and what they want to do, because it becomes really important. I mean, they really have to do a tight and well balanced between people that want to spend and can spend, which is good for the company, good for the game design and everything, so they actually keep the game and servers running. And they have to keep the people that are playing and investing a lot of time, you have to give them the opportunities as well to basically be able to do most of the stuff or everything as well. Because the point, the moment you cuck people and block them from oh yeah, you can't do this because you're net 5 that you have to pull and that you have to skill up fully, you don't have that unit and it's a requirement. I mean, they already did a really good step when it comes to these things in Sky Arena. You could create a lot of dupes, you could create a lot of 2As, you could create a lot of 4 stars and 3-star units that basically did most of the jobs and were really like competent and like excelled even some net 5s or most net 5s even.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the Vigor times. Vigor was basically the best net 5 you could have elemental in terms of what you could do with him and how strong he was. Lulu basically does everything a net 5 does as well, max skilled and everything. And sure, you need to have these things in the game to basically allow people that have the skills but not the money, and have the time. Like you need skills and time, I think equals money. That's kind of the calculation. But you kind of need a bit of everything to really be a perfect player. But you can you can focus on two aspects in the game to basically complete the circle. Do you understand what I mean? Like you have time and you have money, but you don't have skills. So you can play a lot, farm a lot, get advantage with better monsters and more skill ups through your whaling, and you will kind of be on the level of someone that has skills,
Yep.
And the same goes for someone who has a lot of money and skills, but beats a player or stays at the same level as a player that has a lot of time and practice.
The skills can be learned though, which is important.
That is what they're doing, and I think that is what they're doing really well. I mean, I noticed from the first 2-3 dungeons that they started to implement stuff that you had to dodge, you had to evade this, you had to move out of circles and everything. So they are trying step by step, which is the right approach because it's a fresh new game. It has kind of the controls of every MMO that is out on PC, but since it's also a mobile MMO, these people that play on mobile, basically, they have to kind of keep up. I mean, right now we're really focused on the PC aspect of the game, which should or is supposed to make it like a competitive game to like AAA or world famous.
And I want to speak on that.
Yeah, and then you have like people that only play on mobile.
Yeah.
They kind of need to be able to do most of the things as well. Probably not as good as someone that sits there with keyboard and mouse. Or with a controller. I mean, I know someone that plays with a controller and plays really well, because the controls are actually really optimized for controller, from what I know. But I'm not a good controller gamer, so I will stick to keyboard and mouse.
I'm playing controller right now, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. So for anyone that is feeling really comfortable with controller gaming, that he should definitely try it out in terms of how it's being played. Someone who's a console gamer most of his life. Is actually gonna get used.
So double controller, might I add? So I have a controller for the phone, and then I have a controller for. I have carpal tunnel. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but for keyboard gaming, it's very very tough for me. So as a World of Warcraft player, I have a lot of tools at my hand that help me get around my issues of carpal tunnel. And I need these kind of things to play the game. So when it comes to this, it's just so much easier for me to hold a controller and play Summers of Chronicles with the controller. And then same goes for this. I can't sit there, tiny fingers on my phone. So if anybody else is running into problems like that, I forget what these are called. Is this called a backpack or a back spine or a back there's a name for these devices.
Not sponsored.
And it's not written on this. Yeah, not sponsored. Technically sort of sponsored, but not.
Sponsored.
But yeah, so I have experience with two forms of controller, whether it's playing on mobile or playing on PC, and I do controller for both versions, I guess.
But in terms, you're saying control. And when I look at the screen too, for like looking at your screen now, Lucky, when I look at it does look like it's a controller layout, like format, like to navigate it through the controller. It seems like it would be very comfortable for most people.
Yeah, we can look. Oh, I just showed my ID. It doesn't matter.
I showed mine. Nothing happened.
I think I saw like where do you change the key bindings? Change. Oh yeah, here. So this is how it looks. Basically, this is what we call like in MMOs or in World of Warcraft we call like the HUD, basically, or the hidden HUD, where you basically can place, move all your interactions and the entire design of your layout of how you want to play the game. You can.
It's bartender.
Yeah, bartender is the add-on, but it's like the HUD in I think in real speech. And you can basically like haven't figured out. I haven't played around too much, but if you can like move and lower the size of things, for example, of your character on the bottom right, like these abilities, I know them in my sleep. I don't need this visualized. I can basically, if I could, for example, click a button and hide it completely, I have the right bottom corner for free to look on my screen.
I see.
That's the advantage of let's say like on mobile you wouldn't be able to, and there is no sense to hide it because you actually have to touch screen click on it, to actually activate it because you don't have other buttons. But for PC, I have mouse keys and I have keybinds. So if I play, as you can see, I have my keybinds here changed from F2 and F3 to forward and back on my mouse,
Oh.
which is already like something that I will talk about later when we come to the new dungeon. And you will probably have to like change keybinds on a great many of things, because they are going to introduce you to the game properly by taking you step by step through the important mechanics of the game. At least that's what I'm guessing, and I think Apsy agrees on that as well, because we had the exact same idea. Like the next couple of dungeons are going to introduce you to mechanical plays more and more, until it basically becomes maybe even a 5-man raid or a 10-man raid or something like that. And we see like real MMO raids. It is possible. It could happen. I would really like to see that. I mean, I wouldn't like to see 25 raids, or that's too much. Like 5-man is completely fine because you still have your Pokemons, and that would just clog up your screen. So they would probably need to implement a lot of more disable. Like there's in for example in Lost Ark you could disable the casting abilities of your teammates, but only allow the beneficial effects to be seen, so you can actually see the squares on the screen where you actually have to move, and stuff like that. Like you could tweak like the visualization of how you play in a group and what you see and whatnot. So for example, imagine you have 5 Theomarses in a party, and 5 Konas. You just see fields of healing and fields of you just see frost balls flying, and it would, like after 5 frost balls, because they're actually displayed really big on the screen when they fly across your head, you would basically not be able to see what the boss does, and that would be really unfortunate in terms of raiding, because you don't see
This is
you don't
something
see
beyond
projection.
my
You just
understanding shit. Because
yeah.
we never see that, right?
I mean, it's gonna be important if they actually go through that route. It's gonna be important later to have like what's it called, telegraphing. The telegraphing needs to be like proper, and you need to be able to maybe even hide your Pokemons. From
when we're
seeing
talking about
them.
PvP, what you're saying, it's going to be important to see what's actually happening.
Oh yeah. But there's something else that is going to be really important before PvP actually releases. I haven't read anything or talked to anyone that plays the Korea version and actually plays RTA, but I have one big issue with the game. That is, maybe you will agree with me on that, Stoic, because
Tab targeting.
Yes, tab targeting.
I already knew what you were talking about.
This is like the one thing they really need. It doesn't need to be tab targeting. It can be another system, but it needs to stop forcing you to look at one target and you having to click it away. Like, come on, give me a break. Let me go into my options, remove that ability, and we're done. I don't know if it exists. I haven't checked, but this is really frustrating for me. Like,
do you understand the targeting system right now? It's somewhat tab targeting, not for Orbia or Kina players though, because you're playing at ranged. Well, more for Orbia. Do you understand how you kind of tab target in this game?
Oh, I'm playing Cleave, so I'm really annoyed because I dodge from abilities and I want to dodge straight forward, but it actually returns me and does a curve because I'm targeting, like instant targeting another target or the same target. And I die. And
that
that's
happens
how
to me.
I start.
Okay, wait, that answers a question I had. I was so fucking confused by that.
Yes.
All right, Rocky, could you actually show them the targeting thing on your screen? So the little button next to R. So that target. So if you select it, well, you don't have any targets around you right now. But if you select it, it'll go purple, and that's your target. But let's say you walk away from the person you're like deselect, and then walk away. You can then reselect a new target if it just prioritizes who's closest to you. So there is a form of tab targeting, but you don't press tab. You have to select the damn crosshairs icon. So if you're walking towards something and you select the crosshair, it'll then go purple, and you are now fighting somebody. But if you walk if you deselect and walk away to another closer target and reselect it, it will target the new monster. So there is a form of tab targeting, but it's not pressing tab to then cycle everything in front of you.
I guess you can hotkey this, I'm pretty sure, but the thing is, my biggest problem is, when I enter a raid, I used to just, like I'm just showcasing this right now.
Yep.
You go through towards the target and it's auto-aiming it. So you are walking every step, you have the target in your camera, in your perspective. When you remove it, you are playing like free cam.
Yep.
That's what it's
Correct.
called. The problem is, I enter a raid and I have this and it auto-targets. Okay, I remove it manually, I go up to the target, I run away from the telegraphed ability and turn around, and suddenly it has him on target as well again.
Yep.
That's
And
what happens in
this is-
Foggy, right?
Yes, it
Yeah,
happens
that's
in
the
Foggy, it
annoying
happens...
Foggy one.
Yes. Especially since you have 2 targets, so once one of them blinks away, so I got carried now. Once of them blinks away and appears again, it's like your entire option is deleted. It reset again, so you have to manually remove it again, and that mid-fight. I guess like while the fights are really easy and relatively slow-paced, this is not an issue, but it would actually turn out to be an insane issue, and it is actually an issue in the current raid that just got released. If you're not cheesing or doing cheese strategies with over DPS and stuff like that, if you play mechanically. So yesterday, it took me like half the night to actually do a proper raid of White Shadow Castle, the new raid that released, and it drove me nuts how often I died because I walked into an already laying field of death, okay, by walking away from the boss, removing the auto targeting, his arm popping up, and his arm getting into auto targeting. I kill the arm with my teammates, and I want to walk away from a telegraphed ability, and it already auto triggered the focus on the boss again. And instead of moving away, I move into abilities. And sure, you could say it is something you could be or get used to some degree or at some point. But it's really hard to remove the 15, 20 years of experience in gaming
Yes,
just like that.
exactly.
So for someone that is completely fresh, for example, for you, Firas,
Yeah.
this is not as much as an issue. But when I showed you how to do the rune dungeon in Discord in our video chat,
Yeah.
you saw me always clicking that away, and you saw me always moving specifically left to right, or basically roll left and right, because that's kind of, I positioned myself perfectly so I could just, dodge abilities left and right. But when you have this, when you're not used to being able to play with free cam, then it probably isn't an issue if you get used to it. But for me, it's impossible to delete 15 years of MMO free cam experience and be forced to this system now. It's horrible. It's horrible. Like it makes me like, I think 30% worse player instantly just by having that, because I'm not able to do what I usually could do, dodge abilities. I could do that, but not with
Do you
this.
think like there's a bug with Cleef on the dodging, or is that just how it works when you don't
That's
have
how it
free?
works right now.
That's just how it works. Okay.
So here's another example of I don't think Comptos does the kind of in-depth testing they should. Like that should have just like you can't tell me that there's not a single Comptos employee that never played an MMO that involved tab targeting that they weren't like, yeah, we don't need this here. Or like this feels a little clunky. Like why am I rolling at the target or whatever? Like this is just kind of like more proof in my eyes where it's like it's just kind of confirming what I've been thinking and what I've been saying this entire time. And like no one has to like go into Comptos and ask the questions, hey, what's going on here? The writing's on the wall, in my opinion.
But the writing's on the wall if someone's there to read it, though.
Yeah.
If no one's reading it, then it doesn't fucking matter, does it?
Yeah.
It's the Chronicle World of Chronicle podcast that's
Yeah.
reading.
What's reading? Okay.
You should by the way.
This is a podcast. This is not a how-to tutorial. As much as I enjoy it, because I do want to learn more about MMOs, but for the viewers at home who are like wondering like what's unique about this game compared to the other ones, the rune system and the Pokemon system, as Lockie wants to call it, is it unique or has it been done before? Like
In
having
an MMO.
in an
In MMO.
MMO, having 3 units trail you, and then you have this rune system. Like obviously the equipment system has been done. That's what we have on our main character of the 3 choices you have. That's your equipment that's known. I don't know if there were ever percentages, because like some items that you would equip are not always flat attack or not always defense. They'll have crit rate option or a defense percent option or a X% option. There's options in equipment. Is this been done before or no?
Somewhat in Guild Wars 1, if I remember correctly, that you could get a tank, a healer, and a DPS to follow you, and then you played your class. You had zero control over them, and you didn't have any reaction with these guys whatsoever. They just filled the roles that you needed. But the thing is, I think they were called bodyguards, and you would do a dungeon, but these dungeons can be taking place of actual players. So, in my opinion, no, I haven't experienced a game that does what Comptos is doing right now with Summoner's War, as we have, because we're talking about different combinations, and like we can really start getting very in depth with the uniqueness of Chronicles, because every unit has a role, every unit has a positioning on the field where they go, and it always depends on what you're playing as. I'm calling it class, not summoner, what class you choose to start off with. With everybody going Cleef, you are the tank, and the only reason why Kona works is you're an additional tank that's also taking on the role of a support healer, but Kona's a tank, not a healer. It's a tank. And there's other roles in this game where if you make a bad team, your team's not going to work, and sometimes it doesn't work due to the summoner or the role you choose. You decided to choose at the beginning of the game first.
Okay.
So no, I think Chronicles is extremely unique, and I have not seen this playstyle in another MMO.
Okay. What about you, Lockie? Have you seen this?
In an RPG, really similar to what
MMO.
No, in an RPG, I've seen a really similar system. But I don't remember the name, but I've been watching my friend play this, but it's been a long time. Where you actually had like similar to Guild Wars 1 guards, but you could actually give them like preset commands. So what they do, basically they're like your teammates. But this is something actually different, I would say.
Okay.
In a big sense, it's actually different because for me, like my first impression when I played this, was like, okay, this is a nice mix of what an MMO should be. It's more like Lost Ark, I would say, and it has like the Pokemon flair in the Summoner's War IP. I think that describes it the best.
Okay.
And now it's just important to what is Come to Us going to do in terms of these 3 things, like that make that game. So it's like, is the Pokemon aspect going to be pushed most, which is the gacha aspect of the game, I would say? Is it the Lost Ark, which is like the World of Warcraft raid boss mechanics, MMO play style, where you actually have to develop and hone your skills in terms of are you capable, are you going to be like mythic dungeons, hardcore, hell modes, inferno modes, whatever? Is there going to be certain difficulties that will be able to separate you in terms of skill from other players? And the Summoner's War IP, I mean, where are they going to take it? Are they going to implement artifacts? Stuff that
I
already
imagine
exists
artifacts are coming. I 100% anticipated it.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, are they going to just copy pasta Skyrena in that regard? Are they going to maybe implement new units that are not in Skyrena yet into this game before they actually?
Already they are. There's a new unit that's coming that's not in Skyrena.
So they are doing really similar things that they did in Lost Centuria, I would say. So that way already, because there was some units that aren't in Skyrena that have been implemented in Lost Centuria, so probably doing it here as well, which is actually a good thing, because they kind of want to keep the games unique and separate to some degree.
The main thing is that it's unique, right? It has to be.
It is insanely unique.
So
like
if the monster trailing you, the units trailing you, or having, it doesn't matter. It could be a box. If whatever trailing you is considered semi-unique, because we said there was something similar in Guild Wars 1, and Lost Ark didn't have anything trailing you, right?
Nope.
It was your one character. So there is already uniqueness in there, semi-copied. Copied. I'm saying this loosely just because my vocabulary, my in-brain thesaurus is ass, essentially. But the so then that by default, if units trailing you is unique in an MMO, that means the rune aspect and controlling them is even more unique because it hasn't been done before as far as we've known. This has not been done. In Final Fantasy, were you able to control multiple characters in a group, or would it be just your one character and it's doing your one character thing?
Depends on the class. For example, in Final Fantasy in the MMO, you had the summoner class, which I played at the beginning, which you had a summon. Basically, in World of Warcraft, you had the warlock. You had one summon. That was one unit. That it's kind of oriented on that. I would say here it actually means that it's way more important and relevant to actually control that unit, because in World of Warcraft sometimes you could just let them do auto attacks and it was just one unit. Here you have 3. So the micromanagement aspect is actually being more significant here, I would say, because you also tab through the units. Like you're controlling only one, and the others do their abilities automatically, and you can change between them. Yes. So the 3 you put in is actually going to be the relevant team composition, how you would say that. I mean, it also has to fit your character class that you're playing, since you have 3 different ones so far. Maybe there's going to be a 4th and 5th one. Who knows?
I would love to see
that's
more.
Also in plan as well. I believe an assassin's the new summoner that we will be getting down the road.
Ooh, has it been already released in Korea?
I have no clue. That's all I know. I've already heard talk about an assassin is the next class to be released, because we have our tank, or it's called knight. So Cleef is a knight. It's knight.
A paladin.
It's what is Orbia considered? Or just range?
Mage, enchanter,
mage,
or whatever it's called.
Yep. And then Kina, the healer. But an assassin class is I believe what's coming next.
Is she actually a healer, or is she just a support? I think she's a support. She's not a healer.
Is it whatever the cross is? Whatever a cross is, that's what she is.
That's a support.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
she's support.
Can heal, but she's. I mean, I've started playing her just earlier today. I don't really see that many heal abilities, so it's more like a support. I mean, it applies debuffs and buffs, and
does she do defense break?
Yeah, and she also cleanses. So she's literally doing the Lulu job as well.
Oh
Depends
my
on
God.
which element you play. I think she is the most complex and probably the strongest out of all.
I feel just you're telling me those 2 things make her like the best early game unit to have.
I mean, you don't have like the class you play basically determines which followers, like which Pokemons you actually pick.
Yeah.
And let them follow you. I mean, if you're really going by this without knowing anything about Summoners War lore and IP and anything, you would basically pick from just MMO experience, you would pick, or RPG experience, I would say, you would pick the classes that kind of synergize. So you would always pick, if you are the tank, you would never play another tank in your team. You would play a healer, or place 2 healers, or 2 damage dealers and 1 healer, something like that.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, Summoners War players are struggling with that exactly. Summoners War players are choosing boy, girl, or boy, woman, girl, and they're like, all right, this is what I'm going to play. And they're like, so what's my first Nat 5, guys? Selective Nat 5s. And I'm like, what summoner did you choose? This is very important. And they're like, I just wanted to play Orbia. Like, okay, so you're an Orbia player, but technically, if there wasn't an event for the Desert Queens, I wouldn't push Sekhmet and I wouldn't push Bastet so much, because you have the ability to skill them up, so it's super important. Remove the Nat 5 event. This is very dependent on what summoner you want to play.
I think that's there's a lot of spice, we'll say, to the game right now, right?
Yep.
Like there's a lot of complexities that maybe like people jumping off Scar. Like I didn't expect to be so into Chronicles. I wasn't shit talking it, but I said I'll try it. I tried it and I'm really into it. And I'm really I'm thinking is this just a copy of another MMO? And that you guys confirmed for me, this is a very unique MMO. It really is.
Something I'll give Comptos a lot of credit for is Sky Arena was very unique. It hit the mobile market, and there's a reason why it was a #1 mobile game. There was nothing like that. No. And there's a reason why so many companies went out and made their own versions of Sky Arena, because they were trying to copy what another company did, and then everybody, oh, it's the Sky Arena killer. Game dies, Sky Arena's still up here. Oh, it's the Sky, another game, Crystal Guardians, DHC,
right.
we can go down the list.
Remember their names. I can't believe believe you remember their names.
We can go down the list of all these mobile games that were supposed to kill off Sky Arena, and they never did it. Sky Arena was unique. Sky Arena did it first, and Sky Arena did it best. But here we are playing Chronicles, and Chronicles is unique, and I'm going to give Comptos the credit for that, because right now they're doing something that other companies haven't done, but it's on them to not drop the ball right now.
That's what, and you're not the only one to say that, like, the concern of dropping the ball. Because I'm really calling this my first MMO game, because I didn't play Guild Wars 2 like an MMO. I just played it like I played Skyrim. I walked around, I did whatever. I didn't participate in raids. I didn't do shit like that. It does help for me that Chronicles is familiar, because I understand runes. I understand not exactly the units. The units, again, they don't matter. It's just the skills of the unit, what it does. Sky Arena experience does help in that regard, right? But when it comes to a composition on your main character, I don't want to make the similarity to RTA where you choose a core and then you build around it, but it kind of is like you choose your core. In this sense, it's your summoner, and you build around it. So in my case, I chose Cleef, and I had to build around him. I didn't learn that until as I was building my units. So, okay, well, if my Cleef is always the front line taking hits, I just need a bunch of surrounding guys doing whatever they do. Essentially, mages like a cell. I'm going over my screen as if I had it screen shared, but I'm talking about like Bastet to buff my stuff, or my Acelia to do the range damage, and I use Tion to heal. And what was I getting at? I already forgot because I distracted myself thinking, okay, I'm not screen sharing. But
I think like just the basic knowledge of having played Sky Arena is a little bit helpful, but it's actually not really advantageous. I think, especially in that regard that, you know a couple of OP units, and you see how many people. I mean, we have seen a couple of people rerolling like 40 times already just for an LD Net 5.
Yes.
Because they think it's broken and OP and stuff like that. Yeah, maybe in the long run, maybe not, maybe never. Could also be the case. I mean, sure, some of the skills are actually way better than their elemental pendant,
yeah.
but I'm not sure like how it will play out, because you're really scarce on Devilmons right now, so you can maybe get one of the Net 5s and maybe even possibly an LD Net 5 fairly quickly to max skills, but that doesn't mean jack shit, because if it doesn't fit in your character and your comp and in the dungeon specifically or in the raid, you won't use it. You just won't use it. It doesn't make sense, because that's what I learned relatively quickly, because I started 2 days later. I wanted to actually start at launch when I saw it in the SWC, basically, that it's released, or beforehand. I wanted to start at launch, but I was like, My first thoughts were when they announced MMO, basically, was like that it actually Comtus is doing an MMO. Come on, man. That was my first thought. I mean,
think everybody had that thought.
I do like non-biased. I do like Comtus as a publisher, because they're pushing a lot of games out in the market, and most of them are actually not that bad. You just won't be too invested after playing Sky Arena, because it's like the top of the notch of the food chain in terms of what a game can actually offer you, and not because like it's a whale, free to play friendly or anything. Doesn't have to do with the entire system behind that. It's just like the content that you can do and that you have in a game. And then my first thought was like a year ago or 2 years ago when they announced an MMO, I was like highly skeptical.
Yeah.
And I was still
as anybody
skeptical.
should be.
And I was because I know what MMOs on mobile mean. It's a lot of you press auto and it runs from target to target, and you can speed it even up. There's a button here with +3 speed or something.
Yeah.
And if you have like a greedy developer, you will only have 2 times speed, and the X3 or X4 speed you would have to buy
Premium pass
through a premium pass or through a VIP system and stuff like that. And I'm like, ooh, I mean, I know that this is not like the most charitable company in terms of gaming. They're not running on air, so they actually have to make money. So everything is possible, like even the worst. And then on Thursday, like 2 weeks ago, Thursday, I think it launched. And I was like not playing. I was still farming and doing runes in the old Sky Arena, trying to get better, but get shit on in reapps. And then 2 days later, I think Gilly just asked me like, "Oh, are you playing? Are you interested? I'm trying this game out. It's actually cool." And then I PM'd him and we talked and I downloaded it and all that stuff. Yeah, tried it out, hooked, done. I mean, sold like from minute one. It's not that I would say like it's the greatest game I've ever played. I wouldn't say it is definitely going here to stay. There's a lot of things, and I could also talk about that, like a lot of things that have to be done in order for it to actually stay alive and actually not drop in members and player base.
But for anybody who said it was going to be another Lost Centuria flop, are just 100% wrong. It's
Very
far
wrong.
from that. It's not a Lost Centuria flop.
I want to leave that what we think needs to be added at the end of the podcast. We're already at an hour and a half. If you guys haven't.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, it's getting kind of long. So I do want to wrap it up because we don't like to push. Even this is gonna end up being the longest episode regardless. But I think we did cover up everything that we wanted to cover, like in regards of what do we think of Chronicles? We think it's good. Is it unique? Yes. Is it here for the long run? That's going to be part of the last discussion here.
It's on comp to us. Yeah.
It's on comp to us. Like for me as a this is like I said, this is my first MMO. What I want to see is that not necessarily I do want to see RTA. I'm very curious how it would turn out if it becomes very mechanical to play it out. Like you got to be quick to switch to one of your other monsters that you're using. Your rune builds, do they matter? Does all that farming you do, all the raiding you do, doesn't matter? I want to see that equate to the end game being RTA, an RTA aspect like Sky Arena in this game. And to be honest, if it becomes interesting enough, I dare say I don't even want to say it, but I might drop Sky Arena for it. That's how much I currently like this game. Currently. I say currently because we know Comptos might drop the ball. They dropped the ball in Sky Arena multiple times, but they had it bounce back up, and then it's dropped down again, it's bounced back up. But I don't really look at myself playing this on my phone as much. I have played it, like I've done some random autoing on my phone, but I like that I can play this on my computer. I feel like that's where Comptos failed with Centurias. They didn't let me play this on my computer. So I can play 2 Summoner's War games at the same time. I do like the Summoner's War IP. I've been playing this like a month before I was married, dude. I've been playing this for what year was that? 2015. I was playing
a long time ago.
So I've been playing this game for a long, like Summoner's War. I'm playing Summoner's War IP. I have to specify the IP now for a long time. I like it. I like Sky Arena for many years for obvious reasons. I've become an SWC player in it, yada yada yada. But am I open to dropping Sky Arena to play this? Potentially, yes. If I see that I feel like engaging in raid bosses. Like currently, I am like engaged in it and like doing the level 15, which I imagine is probably going to go up to like level 20 when they introduce 6-star runes. I can see 6-star runes. We already know 6-star runes are coming. If Lockie, if you want to open like the rune management, and if you go through filter, you can see that 6-star runes are an option. They will be coming. So the grind is like not leaving this game at all. But the purpose, I think, in a mashup between an MMO and like something like a mobile game like we have with Sky Arena for so many years is that there's an end game content you're working for, whether it's Sky Arena, whether it's Siege or RTA. I don't really want to see Siege in this game, but I want to see like more end game rating that goes into making your RTA better. We know for a fact RTA is coming. They already have it in Korea. I imagine we're gonna see it in like 4 months or so in our servers at least. But that's what I'm hoping for, is that when RTA comes out, it's very mechanical and like it demands your attention. You can probably just hit auto sometimes, sure, but that's what I want to see, and like it keeps me like I like the game.
None of the competitive I want to see auto. If you're going to be competitive and we're talking about ranked, I don't want to see a single auto feature when it comes to trying to lock in a rank of some sort.
No, sure. I'm on board for that too. If Like, I don't care if it's gonna retain players or not. If there's the auto button.
That's what TOA is for. TOA.
Yeah,
If you want to get ranked TOA, press auto.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. But I want to be like doing engaged RTA with my keyboard and mouse, or if I transition to a controller, or I transition to whatever Stoic has as carpal tunnel keyboard thing. It looks interesting. I might have to look into that for my tendonitis more so than my carpal tunnel. Not that I know if I can have it, but that's what I'm hoping for from this game. So,
okay,
what are you hoping for, Stoic?
All right, what I'm I have a long list of things I'm hoping for, but then I counteract them with other facts where I think it's going to become an issue. So immediate things I'm hoping for, of course I'm going to bring up server mergers. Now, I would love to see a West Coast and an East Coast, not these 3 servers from East and West. Now, the reason behind the 3 East and West is because you have to remember that this is a mobile game first. I understand everyone's best experiencing it on PC, but it is a mobile game first, and what Comptos doesn't want is because, you know, spoiler alert, guys, we're beta testing the game. They don't have the resources or the team to do all this kind of testing. That's why we're doing it for them in the first place. That's why all of our rewards are not yielding what it should be. That's why we're putting much more effort into the game and not receiving enough back from the game in the first place. So spoiler alert, guys, we're beta testing. East Coast has 3 servers because this is a mobile game first. If it was as crazy as 1 server, NA total, imagine someone on their phone just downloaded Chronicles, gets in there, and there's a bajillion people in their zone, and it's a lag fest. They stop playing the game, like, I can't do this. This isn't any fun for me. Now they're losing out on new players. They're not playing this game. People's experience is absolute trash because it's way too laggy, and then they're going to be like, oh, what kind of servers Comptos running? Comptos is always going to take the easy and the safe way out. Here's 3 servers, East Coast, West Coast. Everyone's going to be able to play the game. Everyone's going to be able to experience, and we get to properly beta test this game without being told we're beta testing this game the way Comptos wanted in the first place, the same way we're beta testing 2v2 in Sky Arena. Back! So what I'm talking about in Chronicles here, I would love to see server mergers, obviously that all depending, but just being like West Coast, East Coast, because it really sucks to not be able to play with all of our friends. And we need a way to play with our friends a little bit better. And I think that alone is something I would love to see from the game. Obviously, more rewards to help fix the issues, because we're putting a lot of work into for very little rewards. Some of these quests where it's like, I want you to gather all of this and basically do this. And you're like, bro, you're asking for 3 hours of work for just this little itty bitty tiny reward. So it's like, that sucks. So I wish they would change a lot of the rewards coming back to us. But I heard that we're going to be getting, you know, some feedback, not some feedback, but some, I guess, return on investments for what we've been doing. So if you've done all of this, we're going to basically open up our mailbox one day and you're going to see, I keep calling them hearts. They're not hearts. They're breaths of...
Breath of life.
Breaths of life. Is that right?
Breath of life, yeah.
Yeah, breaths of life. Yeah, so like one of those materials, or the objects that you go to skill up your monsters from 1 to 40, 40 to 60, 60, 65, 65 to 70. So whatever that material is as well. We're going to get a bunch of blowback, and our mail is going to be chock full of that because they were not giving us enough for rewards throughout the entire game here. No. So hopes for that, hopes for better reward drops. And then, of course, hopes for more intricate raids. I think Comptos has an extremely unique game here. And I think the issue here is it's mobile first, and that's something to keep in mind with Chronicles. Because it's mobile first, I don't know how intricate they're going to get when it comes to dungeons and raids, and basically throwing so much at you, because you got to remember that we're opening up this... You got to think of it first as a phone. You open up this tiny little phone, you got a bajillion things going on. Yeah, we want this as PC players, but I don't think we're going to get this because this is a mobile game first. So I want more intricate raids. I want more boss mechanics, more just like all of the stuff to get out of here, and then knowing how the boss attack patterns. I want to look out for all of those kind of things. But then in the back of my mind is, it's a mobile game first. And I don't think Comptos is going to throw all that stuff at us because it's a mobile game first. I 100% believe Comptos made a PC game by accident instead of making a more simplified mobile game.
Really?
And that's where I say Comptos can drop the ball. They've got something great. They can make it greater. But if they keep thinking like, oh, but it's a mobile game, we can't do this kind of thing. So we're trying to like keep in mind our mobile players and making sure that they have a great experience as well. Well, you have to keep in mind people are playing with not great devices, wanting to play Chronicles, potentially lagging up and not being able to keep up with a very intense raid. And that's where I sit here and say, you know, Comptos can drop the ball. And we could have this great experience, but I have a very, very bad feeling that we may not get that experience. And I think I'll just stop there with what I'm expecting from Comptos in this game, Chronicles.
Just to go back on that thing, because I hope they make it in a way where, like, at least if you want to raid and like complex raids, you do it on your PC, but then you use your phone for farming. Okay, mining for leaves and fruits and whatever, and fishing, all that kind of stuff. Like, running auto runs on your rune dungeons and whatever. Leave that for your phone, but don't punish us with a PC, or make it even like a lower requirement on your PC so that like everyone can actually afford to run on even their laptop, for all I fucking care. Don't limit, like, man, if they shit on this game because they're just focusing on mobile and they just throw
it's
it
a mobile company first. It's a mobile company first,
They can change.
I know they can change. Come on. The writing's on the wall
I hope
again.
They don't botch it. I really hope you're not right about that. They're just gonna keep it mobile focused and just make it so boring, because for PC players, because it's just potential out the window. We already discussed this is unique. Don't throw it out the window. It's great. Oh fuck! Lockie, what do you think? What needs to be? What needs to keep this game alive?
I don't know if there's a genius in Comptos headquarters with game development and game design, or if this really happened by accident. I really can't imagine that it happened by accident, because this is actually pretty good, because you basically summed up what this game actually is supposed to be, like on its like limitations and possibilities. So this is probably one of the first hybrid games ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And hybrid in terms of multi-platform, but instead of making it for PS4 and Xbox and all that stuff, it's actually on mobile phones. And it runs kind of the same way, basically. I mean, you can do most of the things on mobile, but I guess for the raids, for the hardcore shit, for RTA and stuff like that, you would want to sit in front of your computer and actually play properly. But for everything else, how cool is that? Imagine you are playing World of Warcraft right now, just to put that idea in your mind. You're playing World of Warcraft right now, and you actually have to, get your blacksmithing up, and you have to farm ores and all that stuff. How cool would that be? I mean, your phone is actually able to handle that, in terms of graphics and game running and all that stuff. How cool would it be you just sit on the potty and you're flying around on your mount on your phone, and you forget about the time. Basically, your feet start fucking falling asleep, and you're dying basically because there's no blood in your feet anymore. But you have farmed like 500 ores of adamantium or something. I mean, come on. That's a cool thought, right? I mean, probably not the part where your feet die and fall off. I guess it could actually happen, because people have been known to die from not being able to eat because they were too busy playing World of Warcraft. But this is a great aspect. I mean, wherever you go, you can fish, you can farm ores, you can do auto farming. You can basically, while you're at work and basically on your way from work to home, you can start your, I need today to do my dailies, I need to do my repeat quests to get my tickets, then I can raid later on and stuff like that. I mean, if you really think about this is incredibly positive and incredibly nice development of something that is, possibly a really unique thing, like in that regard. And it just needs to be used properly, and made use of, like the abilities and everything. But yeah, as Stoic said, like if they have this mindset that it's like primarily a mobile game, this is definitely not going to end well.
No.
And I would say it doesn't end well in the regard that this will still be a playable game, but it won't be
what it could have been.
It won't ever be a World of Warcraft. It won't ever be like anything in that regard. It won't ever be a huge success story. And I think, but this is the part where I think we're going to talk about this, like things that we want to see in the game. This is just my hope and expectations right now, that they really focus on that hybrid and they treat it like the hybrid that it is. And they open up more possibilities for both platforms. Because you have one account, You play one account. You focus every job, every mission, everything on both those devices. And some of them are actually pretty cool to do on your phone and way easier maybe. And some of them, they're pretty cool and way easier or actually possible, doable on your PC only. And I think highlighting these aspects is probably the most important mission they have. Because the uniqueness in terms of what a game is, I mean, MMOs existed for a long time. This is nothing new. But everything that is within the MMO and all the possible actions that you can take, especially now with the Pokemon and like the camera, you know, how it is and the Pokemon's following you and everything. I remember the time when I was playing the first time this yellow edition Pokemon, like very
Yeah,
long time
Pikachu
ago.
following you.
And the Pikachu following you, that was the hype of the day. Like it was incredible only for the fact it was basically the same shit as the other game before, like Blue and Red. Which was, I call it shit, but it was the same shit basically. But it was the Pikachu following you that was literally making it perfect.
Heart Gold and
Like,
Soul Silver. It's their #1 games for their handheld versions for a reason.
And
it's everything follows you in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and everyone loves that.
Yeah,
it's a cool visual.
Yep.
But it's not, and again, but for this, it's not just a visual. It's like, it's a utility. Right, they're following you for a reason. They're doing something. Yep. They're part of your comp.
It's your team.
It's your team. Like it's crazy good. Like the more I talk about like what Chronicles is, and then you guys confirming that this is unique. Like I feel like this will eventually rival if they do it right. Like I'm sure somebody at World of Blizzard, I should specify, seen this and they're like, "Fuck, why didn't we think of that?" Or like, well, maybe it may not, like, I never played WoW to, like, say this is comparable. And, like, could we have added this in World of Warcraft? Or any other MMO game sees this and, like, fuck, we could have done that.
I mean, there's been talk about WoW Mobile. You know, I've heard the talk about WoW Mobile, and there's no reason why they can't look at Chronicles and be like, we can make our own. And you want to know what? If Chronicles did it first, WoW's going to do it not only better, but they're going to actually promote the game, which Chronicles is not being promoted. Thanks, Comtuous. Where's all the new viewers, Comtuous? Promote your damn game.
I was really going to that because I think this is what is missing the most right now, and I think this is where they miss and mess up the most, in my opinion. When you launch a game of that scale and possible scale, not of the scale right now, because I don't think there's more than 50,000 players or something playing the game worldwide. I'm pretty sure. Like I don't know the numbers, but I'm pretty sure. Like I think per server there's like, I mean we can probably check. There's the rankings and stuff like that. Where is it? I'm actually showing off now.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Like how many people is there? Like you can't even tell. But I don't think there's more like than 10K per server. No fucking way there's more than 10K. I mean, this server is really active, but at the event I don't see like more than 100 players at all. So I think it's like 1 to 5,000 accounts created and 1,000 actively playing, which is normal. I mean, this is nothing new. But when you consider it's an MMO and this is split into 2 servers per region, like West Coast has 3 servers or 2?
No, each side has 3
servers, and then you have Korea and Asia or whatever, you know, you have multiple servers there. So if you add that up, I mean, this is like 20,000-30,000 realistically active players right now, and you are excluding Europe completely, which is also like a player base wise probably in global scale smaller, but the activity on Europe, as we have learned in Sky Arena, is like the most hardcore.
Yep. And it's your biggest region. Europe is our biggest region for Sky Arena.
Yeah, right now I would say, like back in the day, I remember the talks like, oh, global was the biggest and everything, but the most active is Europe, like by far. We've seen it in the wars, like in the arena, world arena thingy. That Europe was just clapping everyone just by pure activity, not even by skill, but just by activity. Like the lower ranks were farming so many points that it was impossible for any other region to gain a victory. However good they played, they had no chance because so many players played. And this is like for me the biggest disappointment now, but especially now that I'm seeing like what potential this game has, and that it's actually a really good game. Like in my honest opinion, it's a really good game, especially coming from Quantus. That's even like a double plus on top.
Yeah.
That they are actually messing up the launch, and they should have globally launched at the same time. And I don't like games that are launched in Korea first, and then the other regions never catch up or never are able to catch up. That is what fucked. Sorry for my. So you can monetize your video. They fucked up the Lost Ark exactly in that way, in my opinion. I mean, sure, it was only meant to be in Korea, and then suddenly got taken over in terms of publication by Amazon Games.
Can we conspiracy theory this real quick?
Ooh.
Is it just to give Asian players an advantage or an edge?
No, not at all. I don't think that's it. Conspiracy theory, this is a rush product. This product was not ready to go out, and they had to. They were taking advantage of SWC, their own platform, to get as many Summoners War players onto Chronicles, and it's a rush product. It's not ready, so why would they do a global launch all over the world when the game's not prepared? So it's like they wanted to put their best foot forward and utilize SWC, but they couldn't, so it was a NA launch the way it is because the game is not prepared. It's not ready.
If you remember, I don't know if you played World of Warcraft from day one. I mean, I was 14 and a half, I think, when I was standing in line in front of a GameStop in Germany. Imagine I was we had vacation, so basically it was possible. It was like 7:30 a.m. I never woke up on my free time that early to get a game, and basically World of Warcraft in the beginning was a beta as well. Like the beta and the end game product didn't differentiate at all. I mean, it was an active beta for at least another year. There were so many bugs, issues, abuses, hacks, anything possible. I mean, it's still ongoing until this day. But I know and I remember that Blizzard invested heavily into infrastructure and into fixing like developers and all that stuff, and game supporters like. When you write tickets, that they respond, like the system that they implemented like afterwards when they saw, okay, wow, we are going to reach 1 million. Little did they know that it was going to be the most successful and most played games, 2 expansions further into the timeline. But they started really investing, like, okay, we need to troubleshoot this because this is absolutely attracting a lot of players, and they saw the numbers. I mean, World of Warcraft had a monthly subscription system of $13 or something. And I think after 2 months, it is very clear that this game is highly popular because the subscriptions go up and not down. So yeah, they literally started taking measures, and I think here there should be something similar. What Stoic said, proper promotion. That's the very first, because the game has the potential to actually become a really good MMO. And second of all, the game design development, get maybe some experienced MMO and RPG developers on board.
Yes.
That would be a really, really good step. Like even Westerners, it doesn't matter. They can be Koreans. There's Smilegate, which are basically they're the creators of Epic 7, I think. I mean, honestly, Lost Ark is an impressive game. Impressive. Especially for niche players that love hardcore raiding, like myself. This was the best game ever done so far that I've played. It was fucking challenging. It was incredible. It was niche as fuck and still highly successful. Which is actually contradictory, because a game like World of Warcraft that was more of made for fans of the lore, which is Chronicles right now, became the most successful, and it had multiple areas where a lot of people could find their niche within the game. And this, I think, is also possible within Chronicles as well. So I really hope they do get some really experienced people on board and start producing really good content for this game, and regularly as well.
I am in agreement with what they throw this out the window. This actual replacement of Skyrim. This is an and this is
not the same game.
Because I can see this.
How many years did we want Summoners War 2? With a proper engine, with basically more inventory space and all that stuff that they could probably code in better.
This is it.
This is it. But it's actually better, to be honest. It's actually
way better than we would have hoped for a Sky Arena 2. Yes, it's not as 2D as you want it to, but this is the game, dude. This is the game. As long as they don't throw. And honestly, if they flop on this and Sky Arena is still ass, what am I gonna go do? I'll probably go play Lost Ark just because you gassed it up right now. I don't fucking know. I'm so turned off from Sky Arena, and then this is really hyping me up right now to play. And just the fact I can do it on my phone. Worst case scenario, I don't have time to get to my PC. I'll play it on my phone. I'll at least farm on my phone. And when I have time, I go on my PC and I do my raids. Woo! Fucking yes, that's great. But we're gonna end it at that because we're literally just under 2 hours now. We're just under 2 hours. This is the longest podcast ever. I hope you guys who were watching enjoyed it, and we sold you on Chronicles. It's hard for me to trash talk it right now, but like Stoke said, it is beta, and it doesn't bother me that they released it in beta. At least it's out there, something for us to play, something for us to do. That's actually enjoyable. This is not forced content or forced game to play while Skyrim is down. This is an actual replacement.
And none of us are on any form of contract for Chronicles. Okay, there is no Chronicles contract we signed for us to sit here and say positive things about this game. These are legitimate, things to say. Crazy. And I'd have to say, I was pretty aggressive talking about a lot of things about Comtuous, and I guess I shouldn't be saying the certain things that I'm saying, but the thing is these are, to my knowledge, the most known facts about the company in general. And to sit here and say the either the make or break to Chronicles is 100% in Comtuous hands, I think that's a very fair thing to say. And I'm not trying to badmouth or talk down Comtuous at all. I'm just saying these are the facts, period. Yeah. Even though we're not playing beta. No, shut up. We're playing beta. I don't care what Comtuous says. This is a beta.
Yeah.
Just a quick question, since I can't find it. There is an option on Steam to find within the community tab to find out how many players actively are playing a game. Is it because it's so freshly released that it's not updated yet, or does it matter?
Make it a bud. I was talking to him recently, and basically that came up. What came up was how well or how not well Comtuous is doing by promoting this game. And he I don't know, he did a quick search and he was like, this is how many players are playing Chronicles right now. And I don't know where he found those numbers, but it was not good. He's like, the game isn't doing good, and it's just 100% they're promoting the game, or their lack of promoting the game.
Yeah, I mean, imagine, since EU launch is around the corner within a month, a little bit more than a month, I guess. Imagine all those EU players like myself, we move out from the US servers. I mean, what you suggest with the server merge is going to be inevitable, because you would probably have to have only one server for West and East Coast, because half of the player base right now is EU, for sure. I can tell you that. I'm pretty sure about that. And 70% or even 95% of player base right now in Chronicles is actually from Sky Arena. So it's cool that basically we, as old foxes and old players, get an edge and a first look around in the game. But yeah, that promotion, it needs to change. It needs to be at least 30% of the player base need to be completely new to this IP. Period. Yep. Without that, it won't be a success. That's for sure.
Yeah, like you said, it's good that we have a head start for us who's been making content on Summoner's War stuff for who knows how many years. We get at least a jump start on it and build a reputation. But that's pointless if the game doesn't grow. It does not matter. Doesn't matter if you're the first one streaming it. It doesn't matter if the first one's talking about it, first one's playing it. We're rank 1. All of that is irrelevant if the game does not grow.
Yeah, a lot of proof in Twitch as well. If you search the categories Sky Arena and Chronicles and you hold them up next to each other, it's pretty much people who are watching Sky Arena or watching Chronicles. People who are watching Chronicles or watching Sky Arena. It's shared views all over the place. And there's just not enough views to go around because the game's not out there. No one knows that this is a great MMO that a lot of people are playing on mobile, and it can be found on Steam. No one knows that.
Are you
and it shows just through the views.
It's true. No, you're 100% right. I think you're 100% right. And like when I was walking through Korea, man, we're gonna go over 2 hours. When I was going through Korea, all I saw ads for, like in the train system and all that stuff, was Honkai Impact, which I thought was a dead game years ago, and there was some other one I can't remember that wasn't E7. I can't remember. I just see that plastered all over the place. And then you have Come to Us, Korea-based game developer. As far as I know, they're Korea-based. Nothing.
Who knows where the real developers are sitting? They could be sitting in some booth in, I don't know, New Zealand, Australia, or
Who
something.
knows? Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe. We'll
Yeah,
find out maybe one day.
Comtos is a really big publisher, and they only, like, so far they only have a couple or a handful of games that they actually themselves created, and most of those Come to Us games are actually created by a dev team that is like independent and was basically acquired, or basically have a contract with Come to Us where they basically share the profits. That's how I know it, because I started my Come to Us journey started with Summoners War like 7 or 8 years ago. And then I noticed there's other games from Come to Us that they were like a little bit promoting on Google Play, and then I started playing Wonder Tactics, but Wonder Tactics had a development team that was outside of Come to Us. So basically the decision making of how the game develops and everything was like split 50-50, or as it is within Amazon and Smilegate, for example, for Lost Ark. Amazon is literally just pushing them with ideas and things that need to be done for them to basically make their job easier. And I think this is kind of the same thing. Like, the development is still within the developers team. Of course, money talks as well. If there's a monetization decision that they really want to do and push forward, obviously a developer is not going to stand against it because they want their publisher on their side. So this is a lot of interesting inside information. But the thing is, it's not even that inside, because the Smilegate dev has been a really open-minded and openly speaking person when it comes to that. That's why he was really revered and loved in terms of being a developer for a game. I mean, you could really notice he stepped down recently from being like the head of Smilegate, of the developer, because of medical issues, or like he was sick or something, and had to step down because of health. And yeah, people like the community really loved and admired him, and really loved to hear him speak. And you had similar figures in Blizzard, if you remember. So back in the day, like, you had Ghostcrawler and all these guys. Ghostcrawler right now is working with Riot on their MMO, which is also going to come out. And in terms of this uniqueness of this game right now, I wanted to say, because I just reminded myself what I want to say. The world has been waiting for a Pokemon MMO, and there has been people writing letters, setting people on fire, burning themselves, burning books, and I don't know what times, what kinds of notifications they tried to send to Nintendo to fucking already make a Pokemon MMO.
They're too late now.
That's the thing. Like, you can only expect, like, this game can only be burned by other companies or by Come to Us themselves. And
Most
two
likely
other
Come to
companies
Us
are.
themselves.
It could be Riot or Blizzard in this regard, because if they do a similar concept just on a way bigger scale with better promoting, basically this is going to be the super niche game, for Summoners of War IP fans. Or Nintendo could publish a Pokemon MMO that plays really similarly like this. So,
by the way, there is a Poke MMO, but it's a small server that came out in 2012.
And it's
a very popular game and still thriving.
Yes, it is. Like, it has thousands of players, and it got a couple of lawsuits, and it did never lose, apparently, or something.
I don't know how they keep that game up.
I have no idea. Usually Nintendo is like, try to make a...
Yeah.
I mean, even me saying the word Nintendo probably could get you a lawsuit for us, because they really hate content creators. I don't know how a company like that makes such amazing games, but has like the worst, I don't know, public relations department in the entire world. This is like, I'm not kidding. This is like the worst kind of.
We're going off top. We're over 2 hours, dude. We're done. We're done.
Doesn't matter. Like
No,
you pay me hourly.
honestly, I have one more thing to bring up here, and I think this is really important
Okay, one
for
more.
Comptos to understand.
Goddamn.
So, because this is a game on Steam and it's better experienced on Steam, a mobile, and this is where I say this is a big mistake made by not just them promoting their game and whatnot, but because it's a mobile game that's better experienced on PC, you have to think of the Summoners War community in general. So the Summoners War community in general, in my opinion, is a older generation of players from Sky Arena. It's older generations. New kids don't get a phone and download Sky Arena. And you know, how long does a young kid play Sky Arena? Probably not that long compared to the older generation that not only invests money, but like these games because it's just like gamers play a game on their phone, and it's because they're too busy and can't sit down at their PC and play a game. So that's why we played Sky Arena, because it's autoing, it's in our pocket, and we don't care. We love these auto features. So right away, Chronicles is going to appeal to more older generation, especially the generation playing Sky Arena. So now that it's better experience on PC, we're getting new kids to play this game. Comptos is already not promoting this game, but we're getting kids and us to sit down at our PC. What is going to make these kids want to play Chronicles when they've got so many other games sitting in front of them on their PC? And that's, again, like where Comptos doesn't understand what they created, because I feel like they're not prepared. And this is why I say it's such an issue. Like, it's a mobile company that accidentally created a PC game. Comptos thinks that they've got a game that's going to make kids choose Chronicles over all the other games that they're going to sit down at their PC. And this is why it's so important that they go in the depth of, you know, bigger raid mechanics, hiring someone that actually understands like how to make a challenge when it's raid designs, dungeon designs, and getting people to stay in their seat and to play Chronicles. Like, this is a lot of stuff that I don't think Comptos prepared for. And why I'll keep saying they accidentally made a PC game, because they've got something great. They have an incredible foundation, but they have to make sure they capitalize on it and get the kind of people that have the resources and the knowledge to help better this game to really kick it off, because this is a PC game. Whether you like it or not, Comptos, this is a PC game, and it's
100%.
better experience here at PC. How do you get kids to sit down and play this game and not decide to play something else?
Like Pokemon. That's a Ziggy question. We don't even have to ask kids.
Yeah.
Ask Ziggy. What do I do to get you to stop playing
You have to
Pokemon?
ask kids, you have to ask this hot dog eating Ziggy.
Ziggy, how do I get you to stop playing Pokemon and play Chronicles? I swear, Ziggy's gonna love this when he starts it. I mean, Ziggy's already here, obviously, in podcast.
I'm pretty sure if you ask him the question to look at this game from the perspective of someone that loves Pokemon games, and try to see it through that lens, I think this is going to actually get him to play. Because he said, no, not another Come To Us game. I get where he's coming from and why he's saying that. And that's, I think every one of us had this internally built up already. Okay, the next time I'm going to go at least with a new publisher that fucks me in a different direction, and not in the same, and not in the same way. You know, kind of like that's why so many people jumped on an Epic 7 back when it released.
Yeah.
I think that's the only game that actually is still being played and somewhat successful out of all these other gacha titles that are similar to Summoners War. And I don't know what they did. I never tried it because I always called it wobbly anime titties fanboy game.
I hate that shit. Well, yeah, but
Yes.
yeah.
But so to say, I mean, I'm completely agreeing here with Stoic in regards to they really have to make up their mind really quickly and take a lot of money in hand and promote it, because I'm pretty sure it will pay off. I'm pretty sure it will pay off, because the more content is on YouTube, the more content is on Twitch, the more people are actually, even amateur level content creators and pros are going to look into these games and play it and try to describe things they see and try to describe elements that this game has and what makes it really attractive and interesting. It's going to be like invaluable to them, and they can't rely on the Sky Arena community to actually do this promotional work. It will not work, because I cannot recommend this. Like in my right mind, I cannot recommend this game right now to anyone that is completely outside of Sky Arena IP, not Sky Arena IP, Summoners War IP, to play this game just on the hunch of, okay, you like MMOs, come play it, you know? I can't do this because this game just doesn't offer enough right now, and we really need to see that path. But it comes off as, or it comes down to what come to us plans and how serious they actually mean it. If they actually take money in their hands and it like parallel holds like the budget of marketing and advertisement, and the other side comes down to content, rate content, progress, monsters, implementations of new features and stuff like that. If that works on the straight line together, this game can actually just blow up properly and be really attractive to other people that are not familiar with the IP.
If only.
Yep. If Comptuous drops the ball, everybody out there that said not another Comptuous game, they're going to be right. They're going to be right if Comptuous drops the ball here. And that's exactly, like, it's justified. If anybody, like, even if Zig, even if Drew Bagel out there says not another Comptuous game, like, you're just making these guys even more right by not, you know, taking this beautiful foundation that they have with Chronicles and then just going to the beyond, because it's all right there. It's all right there. And, like, how long did it take us to come up with this? Are we geniuses? We're not geniuses. It's just like, Comptuous, pay some freaking attention, and like they can do it. The ball's in their court, 100%. It's in their court.
I mean, look at us. We are pretty much people that are to some degree saturated and somewhat even fed up with a lot of things that happen from Come to Us and basically in Sky Arena. So basically we have a background with this. And how long did it actually take you to get hooked to this game?
Not long.
No,
I think like half an hour maybe.
Yeah,
like I gave
it.
like any player could give this like 1 hour or 2 hours, and most of them, like the majority, will get hooked and stay. And that's what it actually means, what actually MMO means, and a great MMO at that, in my opinion.
Okay,
to get hooked on a game, stay on it, stick to it, grind through, push through, and go all the way really quickly. And I mean, if you really end up in the end game content and see no end game content and no possible progression, that's an issue. But I know, like, from the roadmap, they have actually, this is also like one of the things that Taki always complained about. There's a roadmap, I cannot see what they're doing, I don't know anything. Like, Taki always used to complain. I remember I was watching him for hours, cry his eyeballs out, and literally you come into Chronicles, I'm on the Discord since they announced the release or the launch of the game. I'm on the Discord, and then within 1 week of playing this game, I see a roadmap, beautifully minimalistic design, looks good, shows me exactly what I'm looking forward for the next month in this game. What they didn't do in Sky Arena, they're trying to do better here. They just need to get everything else done that is really important to keep this going, because I think they're on the right track, and I think even within the game they're going in the right direction. From the first new thing that I saw, now I can actually say, like, okay, the indications are there that they're actually going in the right direction, and they just need to get the business side done now as well.
Let's end it there because we're at 2 hours and 11 minutes.
I agree.
Damn it.
I agree.
But we could actually end up talking about this. But I think we should do another podcast with mechanics and tips and shit like that. I'm not sure if we'll do it on this channel, but we'll definitely keep an eye out. We'll do a notice if we do it, because all of three of us here are addicted to the game. Me, as never touching MMOs properly, I'm addicted to this game. I'm waking up, if I wake up at 1:30 a.m. because I'm heavily jet lagged from Korea, I'm like, well, I might as well go play Chronicles. And I'm having, like, I didn't have that attitude and like since I was like a little kid, when I used to wake up at 7 a.m. to watch cartoons on like Saturday morning cartoons. You guys remember that? Did you ever have that?
Yeah,
that's the feeling I had.
With different types of games. World of Warcraft was one. I mean, probably the most recent. It was World of Warcraft. It was DayZ, like the mod. That was also like really huge in terms of a game. And then back in the day, like PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1 era, the Final Fantasy games, they were really similar. Like, I woke up for whatever reason, I didn't sleep enough. I was tired, but I walked down the stairs in my basement and started playing those games and grinding.
That's the feeling I have with Chronicles right now, not with any other game. And it's been years since I had that feeling. I have that feeling with Chronicles now. So if that doesn't
Firas,
tell you
we know
anything,
you're not the youngest man on the planet anymore, Firas. You're really old.
Yeah, I'm aging.
And you're actually feeling like a really young person right now.
Yes,
With
I
Chronicles.
feel like I'm waking up at 6 a.m. to play Pokemon. Remember, I used to even wake up super early to play Pokemon, dude. Because like I woke up on a weekend earlier than I never would wake up in my life. I'm like, I'm going straight to Pokemon. Just like that's the feeling I have playing Chronicles. No,
I mean, the image I have in the future when it comes to Chronicles is like you wake up and you log into the game before you even start up your PC or something. Either you had your phone running, and
Yes.
flipped it on the other side, and you were auto farming all night basically.
Yeah.
And then you turn it around and check, and start selling everything before you even go to pee and make coffee and take a vape or something or smoke. You actually check everything that happened in Chronicles. Then you turn on the next dungeon run auto farming while you actually go shower, take a piss, whatever. Basically, this is literally what this game could become. I mean,
that's how Skyrim
really,
was for me too.
You should really send this link to every Korean developer that you met in Korea, during SWC. If you collected a couple of cards, you should send them to everyone, because
collect a single card.
This is what is possible. Like, imagine half the world wakes up and plays and wakes up to sorting out their fishes they fished all night.
Yes, that's me. I'm a fish sorter.
This is not a case of this game is shiny and new and that's why we're playing it. It's not. And I know there's a lot of people out there who will actually say it's because it's new, it's shiny. That's why everyone's so addicted to Chronicles. Like, nope. Because that's what we said about Lost Centuria. We played it because it was shiny and new, and then we stopped. This is not the case in Chronicles.
Honestly, when it comes to Lost Centuria, like Firas and me, we have a really similar taste in terms of games, besides me being a lot of an MMO junkie. But I remember when the beta was, like the open beta for a week or two. Do you remember, Firas, that we actually stopped logging in? Like, we were in middle of G3 sieges. I mean, Doubt was back in the day not that try-hard as it is now. And it was literally you and me. We were not logging in for an entire week because we were sitting on our phones and playing this Lost Centuria. And you had, like, exams for your...
I was in the middle of my exams for my final year of electrical.
You were supposed to learn, but you were literally like, oh, dude, I climbed this ladder
I
and
know,
that.
see?
And the game concept actually really hooked me. Not because it was new and shiny, because it was completely something different. I've never played a game type like that before. And then the IP on top basically gave me the extra kick,
Yeah.
But then the beta stopped, and then they really had a long time, I think 10 months or something, until they launched the game, actually. Which was really a long time. Like, I even forgot it. I mean, even Corona and all that stuff came in between. You had like an entire year basically of forgetting that this game existed. Suddenly it was out, but it was not that interesting anymore. It was interesting during the beta when you actually first time played it. I mean, they could have just launched the game there,
They should have just launched it. Maybe that's what they're doing with Chronicles now.
But you would have probably never passed your exams if they actually launched it.
No, that actually I would have actually fucking flopped. I would have flopped hardcore if they actually, because I was really hooked on Centuria. I did really like it. I haven't played it recently. I'm still gonna say I like it. I think it's actually a good game. But at the time, Skyrim took precedent, just because I was more into it at that time. Okay, we're done. No more. Stop starting discussion.
We did it. 2 hours and 30 minutes, guys.
No,
we did it.
17. I was already saying an hour and a half. We should be done. We added another episode, essentially, of 45 minutes talking about it. If the length of this video doesn't convince... Okay, we're starting another conversation. Goodbye. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us, Stoic and Lockie. I appreciate you guys.
Zigbear.
Zigbear. I mean,
Zigbear.
No, Ziggy. You're still Ziggy to me. You're in his room. I forgot that you're in his room. I was looking at the Discord, but over here, you're in his room.
He's away on vacation.
And you're housekeeping.
I broke into his house, and I'm now streaming from his basement.
Teach him the official outro. I don't know if you have an official outro. I never watch your podcast till the end. I usually, when the conversations ended, I just, clicked off.
We pretty much don't have an outro.
I think it's like, thank you for watching Wopcast.
Yes.
Zigbear and Firas, and Lockie out. I don't know. Is that it?
Don't forget to subscribe and something like that.
Yeah,
Something
don't
along
forget to
those lines.
subscribe.